What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to Learn How to Trade. That is your girl Adara, and I am Sharif. And as always, we're gonna wait for the chat to populate as people migrate over from the other stream. It is a Friday. And yeah, it's Friday. Exactly, Adara. Thank you for correcting me. Dad, trader number one, Bob Dub, what up, baby? Trader forever, Raphael, my man Raphael, Kevin Mendoza, coming in hot there as well. Semper, Emma, Big Michael Floyd, Ponzi Fonzie, shout out to him. She is the one named Sailor Moon. Also in the chat, baby. Chris Yip coming in as well, coming in hot. Cheech and Long, Dave, Pitchbull, what up, baby? Patrick Langlois, my man, Big Patrick there. And then Daniel Peters. Everybody getting populated in the chat there, guys. I have not updated the board as per usual. It seems like I always forget to do something, Adara, on the day, but we'll get that done real quick. The main topic, though, very, very exciting and very much applicable to intraday trading. This one is fantastic. It's based on the previous day's data and you use it for the current day. We're talking about pivot points, baby. They look good. The Katina man suggesting this one to me today, hence Big Katina head coming on the screen there. Let's delete these two.
I love that animation.
We're gonna leave obviously one topic on there, Adara. It's gonna be pivot points. Yes, sir, that's what I'm doing right now. The Chilean Nightmare telling me refresh list, and there it is, sir. It is done, it is ready. I'm getting a sarcastic clap back there.
I enjoyed that.
Highly
I like
sarcastic.
the flurry of applause too. Right? It wasn't a slow clap. It was a flurry of applause.
It was a real good flurry. I'm not going to complain about it.
I enjoyed it.
Guys, pivot points they're really good, and I've got a good example for you in Alibaba. I'm talking about. I'm just getting something here from Brendo before I continue. Powell. Fed prepared to tighten more if it becomes appropriate. He's just itching to tank this market. Yeah, that will be giving you more of the little tidbits that come out of that meeting. All right, guys, pivot points. Super important, and they're effective intraday. Okay, that is, I think, what our traders want to know most about. I think that if you're probably joining us, you're joining us for intraday trading rather than maybe swing trading or longer term investing. That's the name of the game here. What is a pivot point, Adara? What are we talking about here? Well, a pivot point is a technical analysis indicator, or essentially a calculation used to determine the overall trend of the market over different time frames. And the time frame we're going to be talking about is that intraday time frame. But it is based on yesterday's data. So we got to at least be looking at 2 days worth of data. Yesterday, and possibly even the day before, and obviously today. The pivot point itself, okay, is basically the average of the intraday high, low, and the closing price of the previous day come to the chart. Here's what we're talking about. This yellow line on my chart, that is the actual pivot point. And it is based on, so we're talking about today's, this is the 15-minute on BABA. We're talking about today's pivot point, which is right here. You can see how it's different from the previous day's pivot point, all right? And this yellow line is determined by taking the low, the high, and the closing price from the previous day and then charting it on here today as a horizontal line, okay? And that's kind of, we're gonna call that the pivot point, but you can call it whatever you want to mean. If you are trading the subsequent day, which, no, come to the chart, okay? If you are trading above this line today, you should be more bullishly inclined. If you are trading below this yellow line today, you should be more bearishly inclined. And that makes it very simple. It's more nuanced than that, and we're gonna get to it, okay? So, like I was saying, the pivot point is the basis for the indicator, but not the only thing we need to concern ourselves with. It also includes other support and resistance levels that are projected based on the calculation of the pivot point. And those are the lines that you see above and below the yellow line. So on my chart, the purple and the blue lines above the yellow are resistance 1 and resistance 2. The purple line and the green line below the yellow line are support 1 and support 2. And we're going to get into how those are calculated, but for the moment, I want you to look at this BABA chart. This pivot point yesterday, this is the chart for BABA from yesterday. This yellow line here is determined upon Wednesday's high, low, and closing price. Look how it stays below that line and actually rejects off it multiple times. And then look at how every single closing print from BABA yesterday on the 15-minute is north of the support line, the support 1 line. And in fact, it touches off it to a T. This is very, very interesting. And then look at the previous day's action. Getting off that support 2. Very, very good look here. Now, it is a little randomish, okay? Why? Because you're taking the high, the close, and the low from the previous day, you're aggregating it, you're dividing by 3. So it's like, well, what do these numbers mean? I don't care, okay? The fact of the matter is, it's working. It looks like it's a very effective system. We're going to look at some more examples in the wild. But just to go on, here are the formulas if you're interested. So the actual pivot point itself, which is P, you add the high, you add the low, and you add the close, and then you divide by 3. And then here are how each support and resistance level is calculated. Where P is the pivot point, R1 is resistance 1, R2 is resistance 2, S1 support 1, S2 support 2. Here are their calculations. You can screenshot that if you care, okay? Because I don't think they care. I think they want to know how it's used.
Yeah.
Right? So what do pivot points tell you? Pivot points are intraday indicators for trading either futures, commodities, or equities alike. Unlike moving averages and oscillators, though, they are static in nature and they remain at the same price level throughout the day. So like when you see with VWAP or moving averages, anything other that we've already discussed previously, it's dynamic, it's constantly moving. Now, this stays in place, it's static. This means traders can use these levels to help plan out their trading in advance. And we're gonna talk about how you can use the different resistance levels like R1 and R2 for profit taking and S1 and S2 for your stop loss. So it's not just about, random levels that you're charting for no reason. No, you're gonna use them for something. For example, traders know that if the price falls below the pivot point, they will likely be shorting early in the session. And when you saw today, when BABA tried to make that big move up, rejected the pivot point, and then look at what it's been doing since then. It's been down and to the right. Conversely, if the price is above the pivot point, they will be buying. So S1, S2, R1, R2 can be used as target prices for such trades as well as for stop losses. So for example, if you were taking BABA short today because it didn't break through the pivot point, one of your profit target goals for the short could have been S2 over here. Obviously, if it went much more than S2, so that's why you always hold a piece for the dream. Combining pivot points with other trend indicators is commonplace as well. A pivot point that also overlaps or converges or conflates with a 50 period or say a 200 period moving average or even Fibonacci extensions have become stronger support levels. So why I have these blue trend lines over here, which is the 200 moving average, which is the blue, and the 50 is the red, because I want to see if R1, R2, S1, S2 is actually jiving with that moving average. If it is, it's another piece there that I'm putting together. So we don't want to rely too much on one indicator, right, guys? We want there to be multiple looks heading or looking in the same direction, Adair. Anything so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. So basically, you can kind of use these numbers, even though they're from the previous day, to kind of look at what levels could be influential in the current day. And I guess, does this kind of go back to, because I know you look a lot at previous day close, is that kind of just like because sometimes, because I know usually intraday levels matter too. I'm trying to find a way to word this. So basically, I guess looking for, like, you can have confluence between those previous high, low, and close and what we see in the current day.
So that's a good question. So
okay,
yeah, you can actually look, for example. So you know how much I love the day's close. You mentioned
that's
that.
That's why I thought it's interesting.
So over here, so let's zoom in on my chart. Okay, I'm going to put the horizontal trend line here on the day's close from yesterday. So this is yesterday's close on BABA. Okay, look how close it is with the pivot point from yesterday. That's number one. Okay, so if this level was to kind of conflate with something else, like say R1, I would like it a bit more. And we could also even use the range between yesterday's close and R1, which is the purple line. Look how close they are together. So this is at 74.90. This one is at 74.07. You can say that this is a general range. Maybe give it, because they're so close, give it to the top of the R1. But I see what you're saying. In this case, what you're looking for is multiple indicators, whether the previous day's close, whether the moving averages that you're using, or whether fibs. If they're all pointing in the same direction, all the better.
Okay.
But if you're asking if we're using yesterday's data, sure, we are. We're using yesterday's close. We're using yesterday's high and low, but we're adding them up. So you're not going to
it's not just one singular.
By 3.
Okay.
Yeah, so what you're doing, just to reiterate, high, low, close, add them up, divide by 3. That's your pivot point. That's where everything starts off, and that's what the yellow line is.
Okay.
And that's based on the previous day's price action.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense too, because we're talking all indicators are lagging. So like when you actually think about it, like it's not that crazy to be using past data.
Exactly.
To kind of, and especially because it's an aggregate, right? Like we're adding and dividing. So no, that makes sense. Thank you for going over that.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
All right, pivot points versus fibs. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Here are some limitations, though, that you need to know about pivot points. Pivot points and fibs, for example, or extensions, both draw horizontal lines to mark potential support and resistance areas, and that's what we've been looking at. The Fibonacci indicator is useful because it can be drawn between any two significant price points. You saw when we were doing fibs, I would take the low, I'd draw a line to the high, and then you would have all the intermediate levels, the third, half, 2/3, etc. Okay? It will then create levels between those 2 points, between point 1 and point 2. Fibonacci retracements and extensions, oh, sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing here, sorry. The limitations of pivot points, my mistake. Pivot points are based on a simple calculation, and while they work for some traders, others may not find them useful. There is no assurance the price will stop at it, reverse at it, or even reach these levels created on the chart. And like every other indicator, you have to see whether or not it's being respected by that particular instrument on the day. Don't rely entirely on it. Other times, the price will move back and forth through a level. As with all indicators, it should only be used as part of a complete trading program. So when we talked about VWAP, for example, when we talked about the moving averages, we talked about observing whether or not that instrument is jiving with that particular indicator on that day. Is it going above and below VWAP as if it doesn't matter, and therefore, it's kind of useless as an indicator on that particular day at that particular time. That needs to be your subjective observation, and this is no different. You need to look to see whether pivot points are jiving with that particular instrument on the day. I would submit to you on this particular day, yesterday, on Alibaba, it was absolutely respected. In addition, the previous day, Wednesday, S2 was absolutely respected. There was also some indication here on Tuesday that there was respect as well with those levels. And it's been, geez, Baba's been absolute crap. Lately.
Well, it got a downgrade.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not just talking about today, but I'm talking about the last little while. The market's been trending up.
But I mean, maybe it got a downgrade because it's been doing badly,
yeah.
right? That's
I
what I would
think PDD's kicking their rear end. That's
well, I mean, Morgan Stanley clearly thinks so too, because they downgrade Baba.
Well, exactly.
They do a lower price target for JD, and then they say, hey, PDD, here's a higher price target.
Hey, PDD. How you doing? Yeah, no, for real though, for real. I do like this as an assister.
No, it's a good example.
It's a really good assister. It helps you with with your profit targets, with your stop losses. As with everything though, it should kind of just influence, not determine your trading plan, and you have to incorporate it with other factors. Any questions, guys? Throw them up in the chat. This one we can use intraday. I'm probably going to start incorporating this to some extent for my particular analysis on a daily basis. I like them. I've read about them before, but with lots of things, a lot of information coming in and out of his head every day, I forgot a little bit about them, but this has refreshed my memory. Thank you, Katina, man, for reminding me about that. Throw in your questions. Harry Lou, Sharif's mom. What is the rationale? Sharif's mom.
I think maybe he meant to tag you. That's what I was thinking.
No, I'm over here, bro. Sharif's mom is a new caricature that comes in and out of the chat upon their own whim there. What is the rationale behind pivot points? fibs occur in nature in many things, so it's applied to stock. The rationale is it works. I don't particularly know what the theory is behind it. That kind of stuff, you know, getting into the nitty gritty, it doesn't interest me. What interests me is looking at it in the wild, seeing if it works, and doing back testing, doing tests in the sim. Is this something that has merit, whether I understand it or not? If I do, maybe I'll delve into it a little bit more. Obviously not advocating for it. This is going to become part of my daily analysis, and I'll report to you guys on how well or how poorly it does in the wild, so to speak. So, yeah, I get what you're saying there, but, you know, doesn't really matter to me. L2 starting to trip. Okay, I'm not sure what this is.
I saw an example earlier. I am so sorry. I can't find it now, so I'm very sorry to whoever this was, but thank you. They said that Walmart is actually a good example right now.
Sure, let's do it. Let's have a look at WMT. Let's pull that bad boy up.
So yeah, thank you to whoever said that in the chat. I apologize, I cannot find the message right now. It wasn't tagged, but thank you for this.
Let's put in the ticker. Yeah, it's okay. All right. Let's zoom out a little bit here. Let's see. So this is today's pivot right over here. Obviously, it was a resistance point, but so was yesterday's close. Look how close yesterday's close is to the pivot.
Ooh.
It's right here, so it looks like it's closing off yesterday's close. Yesterday also, yeah, I got to tell you, I'm not as impressed with the look here.
Well, yeah, that BOVESPA one was like really good, yeah.
So yesterday, S1 was a very good support level for...
It might have been yesterday too, yeah.
Yesterday was a really good support level for Walmart. That's S1. The previous day, so Wednesday, S2 was also a very good support level for Walmart. And then here, I would say, so this is Wednesday, this is Tuesday. When it retraced into R2. So there is some merit to that. Yeah, I do agree. Again, you're going to have to do this on your own. You're going to have to back test this. Don't take anybody's word for it. Do your own analysis, but this is basically how it works. Okay? For me, this is how I did it. I go into my studies, I choose pivot points, and then there's really nothing to add. Like remember yesterday when we were explaining to you how to use, which was it that had 3 different data points? Was it the envelope?
Yes, the envelope.
Yeah, the envelope had 3 different data points. With this one, you don't do anything. It determines what the pivot point is based on yesterday's previous high, low, and close, and then it does its own mathematical calculations for R1, R2, S1, and S2. So, you know, not much for you to do other than just to turn it on, guys. Yeah.
Also, yeah, so Anthony F. clarified he was the one in the chat who mentioned Walmart, so thank you for that.
Shout out.
Yeah, no, I think even what's cool about this one too is even if you're not going to use it fully, I think like the fact that it provides kind of resistance and support levels can be good for, like we said, kind of planning your entry and exit.
Absolutely.
So I think that could definitely be something of interest that I kind of want to work on, because like I said, I'm trying to find different strategies, try different stuff to figure out what works. So yeah, I think that's a really good idea, especially because we were saying too, go back to risk management week for a moment here, week 1, something that really stuck with me that Sharif was saying was that whatever strategy you use to plan your entrances, it's usually kind of best if you use the same strategy to plan your exits so that you're kind of all in the same plane here, right? So I think with that in mind, I think the idea of sort of built-in resistance or support points that you can reference on the chart is, I think, definitely of note and something I would like to look a little more into.
Yeah, and that's exactly, you got it bang on there, because you know, we talked about, well, where do I take profit? Yeah. Well, where do I put my stop? Sure, there may be price action levels that are obvious to you. That may or may not be the case on the particular instrument. Like, for example, you could have a very clear support level, very clear, touched like 5 times in the last few days. That is an area of support. You may or may not have that on the chart, though. Yeah. So here's another method you could use to kind of gauge support and resistance. You could use average true range, like we talked about. So there are all these different weapons in your tool chest. Some of them will be applicable on a particular day with a particular instrument. Some will have no effect. Quickly, Powell is done speaking. His speech is done. We are now moving into the question and answer period. So, you know, be alert to any, you know, market moves. You like that one?
I like that one. And make sure you close the door. Make sure you close the door.
Close the you-know-what door.
If you know, you know. It's reference to a Powell speech from earlier.
Yeah, I need to mention something because this needs mentioning. The Russell is up 1 2/3%, while the NQ is down 0.13.
Neil's gonna leave the door open.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that song.
I don't know what they're talking about. But all I know is the Russell is up 1 2/3%. So be alert, small caps on this particular day, guys. Okay. So any questions with respect to pivot points? Anything that you have or anything that was asked in the chat?
Yeah, no, I think I have a question then. So if you have the 2 resistance or support points, would that then be kind of a strategy if you want to piece out or into a trade?
Say it again.
So I'm going to find a way to word this. So with the fact that we have 2 resistance or support levels, is that something like, for example, if you were to like try to piece in or out of a trade, like using one or the other?
Like as a profit taking
Yeah, as a
level?
profit taker?
Sure.
Or is it more something that you like go in between? Like, are there different, I guess, is there a recommended way to kind of use these?
You could have a certain amount out at R1,
Okay.
resistance 1, and then watch how it trades around there.
Oh,
If it
okay.
fails it and rejects it, then you know it's being respected as a resistance level.
Okay.
Perhaps look
That's smart.
to get some more out. But if it continues to clear it, have that as your next level. And if it's really strong and like it keeps going down today on BABA, it's not holding up at S2.
Yeah.
You hold a piece for the dream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's good. Just because I was curious about that because I know nothing is like a set rule either.
No.
Like, not every instrument will be acting like appropriately or in a good mood
Absolutely.
with every single stock, right? So I think that's
Yeah.
something to keep in mind as well. But yeah, like I guess if you're using resistance and support levels, in conjunction with other trading mechanisms, then I think that's something with regard. But also if it actually is playing a role here as well, right? I also there's a Tariq Warzi in the chat. Hi from India. Indicator is nothing. Everything is liquidity. So actually, I was gonna mention too, right? I'm assuming if we see resistance or support
that
bounce
kind of
back
blanket
with
statement.
volume. Well, I was gonna say
No,
because we
no,
were
no.
saying indicators react to volume, right?
Yeah.
And if you have more volume, breaking past the support level, then that also is of note, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just
Blanket
wanted to respond to
statements
that.
like that, where it's absolutely declaratory and it's always the case. No. That's too close-minded and just dismissive of things that are being used by other much more intelligent people. So no, I'm not going with that. Let's see what else is being asked in the chat. Anything specific with respect to pivot points before we start looking? Tell me, Katina, man.
The market's moving around. I just wanted everyone to look at 373.
He wants everyone to look at 373 on Softy, I'm assuming, right?
Ooh, it died off 373.
He's coming in, baby.
Activate hot mic.
Activate hot mic, he says.
Look, this is great. Great job, Adara and Sharif and everybody. This is the thing, though. Like, look at this. I've been posting in the chat. Look at that. Short 273, boom, down there, $1.50. Short 273, boom, 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 boom. As we continue to go. So this is what we're talking about over and over again. Find what's working for you. Continue to do it. Continue to hit it. Raise trophies. Have a good time. Thank you very much to Adara and Sharif for letting me once again interrupt. But this is what's happening. This is trading. And there we go. Microsoft to the downside. I just want to say that to everybody. Shout out. I hope you're enjoying the show. Let's get it back to the real traders. Let's go.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And I'm really happy. When this guy's got his energy, usually the floor has some good energy.
Yeah, and
too.
I mean, Microsoft did die off 373. Like, it is beautiful.
Several times.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, 373 would be an example of testing an area of, that's definitely an area of support. Or I guess resistance.
Yes.
I always get confused saying the two, but yeah, it's a good area. It's a good area as well.
It is. Some good stuff moving today. Lots of small caps moving. We got View moving. It's been halted since the morning, 321%. But there's been this HCDI that's also was up over 300%. We got that. There's another one as well. I think it was up almost 300%. There was a bunch of stuff today. My scanner keeps moving around, so maybe I won't be able to see that other one. Anything, though, specific to pivot points?
I actually do have one in the chat from Anthony F. here.
Yeah, go for
question,
it.
how would you go about back testing if pivot points work? I was thinking, which again, I'm guessing that's like because it depends on the
Your
indicator,
software
right?
needs it.
Yeah. I was thinking percent close, percent intraday range, along with which pivot points were hit intraday. I don't really do a lot of back testing, I'm going to be honest, especially because, you know, I'm still still new to like the whole trading game. But yeah, I think, is there like a certain, I guess, recommended strategy for back testing with pivot points?
Needs
I think
it.
Oh, your software. Okay, there you go.
Well, unless you're going to actually go and do it by yourself.
That's fair, yeah.
Calculate the day's highs and then chart the pivot points. That's going to take a long time. Your software has to do it. So my understanding is Thinkorswim allows you to do back testing. We checked with Michael Moss and the Trade Ideas software allows you to do back testing as well. I think they allow you to go as far as 3 months or so, something like that. I'm not exactly sure. In and around that area. So you have to use the software to figure out if it's going to work or not. It's been a good day for Apple and Amazon here. They're the only ones really, and Nvidia is flat as well. Everything else in mega cap world is kind of red. I'm figuring Apple's probably getting a little bit of a bump here because of that deal with Paramount, which I found to be quite interesting.
Yeah,
you wrote
that
about that in the watch list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was on the watch list. So basically Paramount Plus and Apple TV Plus are maybe going to do their own equation together plus each other, and I'm so sorry, and then combine into one basically streaming service. I don't know how that will go though, because there's different platforms, right? Especially interesting because the Apple TV platform is actually combined. It's in conjunction with like when you want to download movies, if you own any movies on Apple. So I think I'd be really curious to see how it goes down with regards to the Apple Paramount Plus blend, but apparently it will be cheaper to have the two. The big thing I was thinking is this just going to be in America? Is this going to be in Canada? Where is this going to be? How much cheaper? I would like some deets before I get too into this train. But yeah, Wall Street Journal reported it. There's like no specifics yet because it's not actually confirmed. But yeah, Apple looking beautiful. This is what I would call an upward channel. Shout out to last week.
Right,
this
there
looks
you
like an
go.
upward channel. Apple is not the dead one today.
No.
And yeah, no, I'd be interested in a combined Apple Paramount situation. Should it exist. But yeah, beautiful. Another big mover. Pfizer today too with the
you saw Sean all over that.
Yeah, Sean was killing it with Pfizer earlier today. Pfizer also now in an upward channel, but I mean again though not really, because we have to think too about continuation. We're down on the day right now for Pfizer, so an upward channel in relation to like being down 7%, right?
Right.
Nothing too fancy schmancy over there. But I am trying to get off of a Pfizer sympathy play, or I guess antipathy play. Eli Lilly with like really strong weight loss drugs, trying to get in on that. And yes, I realize I traded a lot regardless. But like if we have a catalyst, you know, we're up on the day. I'm going long. There we go. There we
Absolutely. Go. Joshua Lee Mallory asking, what are your thoughts on harmonic trading patterns like Gartley's? Never used them. Can't comment on it. Sorry, my friend. But, well, maybe we'll get into those some other day in the future. Harry, do you only use pivot points from the daily chart, or do you calculate it intraday to define pivot points for the morning and afternoon session, perhaps? No. So the way that I was taught how to use pivot points there are 3 data points only. I guess you could kind of construe it to try to make your own indicator. That wouldn't be unheard of. Lots of people do that as well, typically, and you know they publish it to TradingView, and you get to use their indicators, see how you like it. So that, you know, it's an open kind of an open source kind of thing. I personally have never done it intraday. The pivot points that I've used have 3 data points from the prior day: the high, the low, and the close, divided by 3. And then R1, R2, S1, S2 all have calculations based on the value of P, which is what I just described. So yeah, that's the look there. Let's see what else people are asking. Apple does have some issues right now about the Apple Card in the bank. Yes, this crazy Stitch lady with Goldman, we know about that from yesterday. Yep. They're probably going to be looking for a different suitor. Check out for maybe an announcement in the future. I like the
use of the word suitor.
Right?
Yeah, they'll be courting Wells Fargo. They'll be courting Morgan Stanley.
Quick comment here from, where'd I get that? There it is. Tim is in. Sharif, can you see why NYSE is halted? Yeah, I think it was news pending. I'm not sure. Let me double check. Let me look at my blotter for you. Pre-market gainers, looking. Why isn't it showing me why it's halted? That is actually quite funny. It is on the NASDAQ, so you can just go to the NASDAQ website itself And oh, I forgot to search trader.
NASDAQ got a downgrade today too, which I was like.
NASDAQ halts. Let's just not jump around quickly. Current halts, there we go. And then we can go and look at what NYSE, not bookmark, NEXI. Okay, so NYSE is a T12, and I believe, what the hell is T12 again? I forget what these codes are. T12 halt. Additional information requested by the NASDAQ. Trading is halted pending receipt of the additional information. So it's halt pending information. So that's why it's been halted, my friend. On that one, Luis, Meta hitting VWAP as resistance. I do see that. Yep, it is coming into that VWAP area and having a little bit of trouble making its way up. Just recall that, you know, this is a counter trend trade. If you're taking it long, we're down 1 1/3. So it's curling off that 320 3/4 level. I don't have a particular trade on Meta today. I haven't really been looking at it. Bears versus Bulls. What do you say? Use Sharif. Okay, to tag. Anything else, guys, before we kind of circle back?
There's actually a question here that it's directed to you, but I will, I guess, just
Go
direct it to you from here. Shanga Sherpa, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, in the chat. What are the days you usually avoid or will be more cautious to trade? Not super related to what we're talking about, but I think it's kind of an interesting question, especially with regard to like the Fed. Do you have any days that you, or like I guess times of that you are more cautious while trading?
Yeah, I don't trade the open just because it's really like volatile. Like that's where the big kahunas, like they shine in that kind of environment. They have levels, predetermined levels, take big size at those levels. You know, they can dollar cost average into some levels that they like. Personally, I mean, I don't have an issue with any day. I think that perhaps maybe trading the day after earnings a little bit volatile. I know Sean doesn't like to trade the day after earnings. I don't really have any specifically bad days, though. No.
I just thought it was an interesting question in the chat.
Kind of observe what's going on that day. If it's a good day, I mean, and we're doing decent moves on something, I have no problem. Callum Mitchell Miller, Sharif, I think I got a good pivot point on ALT. I bought at 435, stop loss at 420, sold at 465. Did I make 2R? Thanks. Let's have a look. On ALT.
I love the specific details too. Like they're telling us everything we need to know to look at this.
That's exactly what I want to see, man. Details. Shout out to Callum. Waiting for ALT to load. Okay, so here we go. We got the, look at this. Look at this pivot point hold here. Fantastic.
That's like beautiful.
And look how, see, it goes below the wick, but then the closing print at that level. I mean, that's not bad.
That is like strong.
Right? Let's see what the levels he was saying. I bought at 435. Okay, so just a smidge. That's basically at the pivot point. Okay, shout out to you on that.
This was a planned out trade.
Stop loss at 420. The 420 was a little bit lower. Personally, I mean, I see why you did the stop loss at 420 because it seems to be the bottom end of the pre-market consolidation, so that is a good level. But if you were trying to follow the exact rule here, S1 was at 350. I know you're giving up a lot. And look at, and this line over here, 318, that's previous day's close. But shout out to you for that. And then he took profit at 465. 465 is not a level here that, obviously is on the pivot point, but I do like that 475 area because that was kind of the number one. It's the consolidation high, or sorry, the high of the wicks over here. And it also goes back to yesterday in the aftermarket where we that was the high that we made as well. But 465 is a good level. Good for you. Yeah. On that.
That pivot point is tight though. Like,
right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, good.
Like certain instruments reacting to different, indicators in different ways. And in this case, ALT decided it's going to be besties with the pivot point. So there we go.
Yeah, Chenga, Sherpa, Sharif, what are the days you already asked that. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Sorry about that.
There's a question from VAMC here. When do new pivot points open up for the next day, when do new pivot points for the next day populate on the charts? Is it right after market close or pre-market open? That's
I would say after market close because of the 3 data points that you want.
Number.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want the high, the low, and I'm 99% sure that it's calculated for regular trading hours, not pre-market or aftermarket. So once you have the day's highs and days lows and the close, you'll have all 3 of those by 4 o'clock. Okay. So I'm assuming, I've never actually looked to see when the software populates it, but my assumption is it closes at, or those populate right at the end there. Tony Newcomb? That is a sick name, like Duke Nukem. Who doesn't remember Duke Nukem 3D? Did you guys play Duke Nukem 3D? The Katina man played Duke Nukem 3D. You didn't? Then I'm hitting the fail.
Tell them about Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein is very good. It was amazing. It was very good, but the graphics were not as good as Duke Nukem 3D.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
It was Commodore 64.
It was Commodore 64.
A lot of people in the
had
comments
that
agree with
computer.
you.
Do you know that?
I'm ColecoVision.
Commodore. I see some of them sold on Facebook Marketplace, and I want to buy them for nostalgia. I swear to God. No, Duke Nukem 3D was amazing. That's so funny, Sean, making me laugh. All right.
Or Doom. Doom was the jam.
Doom was amazing. Doom was more popular than any of them, I feel. But I still like Duke Nukem better.
I do not
Get
know.
some. Yeah, like he had all these different like little things.
That voice was not
Yeah.
something I was emotionally prepared for.
Good day. It is Friday, baby. Shout out to Nimit, my man Nimit in there in the chat. He brought keychains there. I keep seeing. I didn't even know that he visited the office there.
You have one of these?
No, I don't.
You do now, my friend.
Uh-oh. Nimit, I've secured it, my friend. Thank you
Secured
very
the
much
bag.
for Nimit. Singapore. I can't believe.
Let's go.
Oh my goodness, bro!
It's such a Friday.
I'm gonna actually have to get a massage because it's been a hell of a week at the gym.
$50 an hour. That's
The Katina man says $50 an hour.
You're not-
No
nothing
less,
comes for
baby. Duke 684 Sharif. That's why my name is based off. Yes, my man Duke Nukem 3D. All right.
I have a question too,
yeah,
off
of
of
course.
TA with rhymes with the AMC's question with regards to they populate aftermarket close. So also, and I guess a lot of indicators are kind of mostly based on intraday questions. So maybe this is like
Yes,
kind
ma'am.
of a strange question.
Okay.
But is it maybe a more effective indicator because we're only looking at presumably looking at numbers that only occurred during the market, like not pre-market or aftermarket close? I don't know if that question makes any sense, but. Because I know you were saying like generally
see
like
what you're
pre-market
saying.
levels are less important.
Yeah, okay, that's a really good question. I don't have the answer offhand to that, but I do see what you're saying. I see, because we're not using data from lower volume
Yeah, that's what I mean.
times. Yeah. I
Like
see what
close, open, and high, or close, high, and low.
the reason why I like it is it's really emphasizing recent price action.
Okay.
It's taking yesterday's high, low, and close, which are important, because we know for a fact we would have been drawing resistance lines at yesterday's high for a fact, and I would have been looking at the previous day's close as well, and the low, right? And to figure out, are we in an inside day or not? And this kind of aggregates all that and projects lines, based upon some mathematical calculation. Now, I have John J. Murphy's principles of technical analysis of the financial markets open, and I could have a look to see what the theory is behind pivot points, because it's explained in here.
Well, that's really interesting.
Yeah, because there's probably some sort of mathematical theory upon which it's based. We get the formula, I just don't understand really the theory here. But okay,
That's
interesting.
cool. There's also a question from Blackberry here
Go
that I
for
like.
it.
A question, you stress that more indicators coming together are better.
Yes.
But are there any indicators that don't work together or contradict? I mean, I think part of it, not every indicator is gonna work with every stock, right? Like I think, or instrument, like that's the thing that we're kind of stressing too, right? So some indicators, you're just not gonna see any confirmation.
Well, what do they? So BlackBerry, is it BlackBerry that?
It's BlackBerry.
Yeah, put your specifically the indicator that you want to know whether there is some confluence or not, or whether they conflict. Put them in there, and I'll tell you whether I feel that there might be some conflict between them. Off the top of my head, I don't think that there's anything that conflict. I think there's some things that you use for certain reasons, and some others you use for others, and they may not come in. They may not come into play at the same time, but. Just basically give me what you're thinking, and I'll tell you if they conflict or not. Guys, the Russell's at 1 3/4, so the Russell's continuing to go up here. Raphael, now that's very professional. I like it. Hey, Raphael.
I think it's professorial.
Professorial. Oh.
Which I mean, professional would be great
That
too,
is
but
hilarious.
I love professorial.
I like that way better. Peter King, Sharif, how reliant do you think VIX is when you trade the market like the TQQs? Look, I don't look at the VIX on an intraday basis. I know that Obi does. Obi likes to have like the VIX on a 15, on a whatever.
He loves the 15 minutes.
Yeah,
I know
he
that.
does.
Yeah.
I personally don't look at the VIX for an intraday look. I like the VIX for a daily look. I'm always looking to see, are we at lows? Are we at regional lows, local lows on the VIX? trying to get a feel of when we may find that volatility spiking up again. Lately the VIX has been really depressed. I haven't looked at it lately, but I know that we are local lows on the VIX. Let's pull up the VIX over here and see where we're at in the daily. Okay, so here's the VIX daily. Yeah, guys, I mean, we're making real lows here on the VIX. We are at very depressed levels. This takes us all the way back to July 2020. Let me go to the weekly here on the VIX.
Oh.
Yeah, we have not been this low on the VIX since January 2020. So almost 3-year lows here, if not more. Sorry, actually more than 3-year lows. What am I saying? Almost 4-year lows on the VIX. Now, I look at this level because I want to see where we may bounce up again. As you can see here, just by looking at the weekly on the VIX, when we come into these levels, we typically have a bounce back up. But one thing that's very clear to me are the lower highs, since basically of April of last year. This was essentially the beginning of the war, the Russia-Ukraine war.
Oh, okay.
And since that time, we've been making lower highs on the VIX, in fact, lower lows as well. That downward channel is also very clear.
Oh,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, so the VIX, I look more for an intraday look at the VIX, and you typically mean revert after you base out. Like when you have based out over here, you mean reverted. There was a basing out over here, mean reverted. That's my analysis of the VIX. I don't use it intraday, but
there's a lot of mean reversion happening there, though.
Well, that's what it is, right? That's essentially what it is.
That's true.
When you get to the lows on the VIX. All right. Low VIX means what? Low VIX, the higher the VIX, essentially the likelihood is that we're moving down the market. When we move up in the market, the VIX goes down. It is kind of a contrary indicator there. It's supposed to measure volatility, but it measures volatility by going up when the general market goes down and going down when the general market goes up. Shout out to you, Peter. Cling Daddy. In my opinion, the NASDAQ UV OLQ minus. Okay, trading view is awesome. Okay, cool. That's a trend indicator that he was advocating for there. Helen says Sherry. Hello, Helen. I don't know if you're talking to me, but it's awfully close to my name.
Yeah, I was gonna say it is basically your name, but with one letter.
Hello, Helen.
Not there.
How are you? Anything, guys, with respect to pivot points? We got a few more minutes before we restart.
I can't believe it's already been like
I know,
this,
it's 11:45 already.
Flying by here. Pivoting already back to the
right?
we started. I need to stop. But yeah, no. If there's anyone has any questions with regards to pivot points.
And guys, when we talk about these pivot points, nothing that we're saying takes away from what we talked about before. It doesn't negate the importance of moving averages. It doesn't negate the importance of volume on breakouts and breakdowns. So when you use these pivot points, you can use them in conjunction with everything else that we talked about. So what I want to see is if there is confluence with moving averages at a certain level, so say R1 or R2 or S1 or S2, also is going through the same price level where the moving average is, whether it's the 50 or the 200, all the better. If you draw fibs from the low to the high or the breakout point to the high, and that also happens to conflate with R1 or R2, all the better. If there is volume at the breakout of R1, all the better. So everything that we've talked about doesn't negate anything that we're saying right now. It actually builds upon it. And the more you see, the more confidence you should have in your trade, the more technicals that are looking in the right direction. Blackberry goes on to say, Sharif, Adira, I was thinking of the pivot point that, because of its math, could confuse other indicators using the close. Nothing specific I was thinking. I wouldn't say that. I think that, using yesterday's data with respect to close, high, and low, it just makes absolute sense to me. But Ivan, Sharif, did you really block me? Block you? Pivot point are the greatest tool for support resistance in volatile markets. Self-fulfilling prophecy. One big problem is in TOS, for example, calculate differently than IBKRDS. Nobody blocked you, my friend, but I see what you're saying. I've never actually used DAS Trader on with IBKR. I've been hearing good things, though. It's supposed to have better execution. But yeah, they're great. They're great for resistance and support, my friend. I couldn't agree with you more there. Sharif, says Michael Storm. Can you put gateways on the list for lessons? Yes, sir. Over here, this paper, now, much like the sticky note, you can't really read what's on it when I hold it up in front of the camera, but all these right over here are the different gateways that we have here at Day Trade the World. And suffice it to say, we have everything, essentially. And we're going to talk about the importance of, inverse gateways, gateways that pay a rebate, gateways.
That's what they mean.
Pardon me?
Yeah, people want you to to type in the chat.
I'm in the chat, guys.
I think it's close it and reopen it, 'cause I think
Yeah?
on the flip over.
Sure, okay.
They can only tag Sharif's mom. I think that's why.
No,
Yeah, I think that's what's
Oh,
happening.
yeah? Okay, I didn't know that, guys, because some people are tagging me. That's what's confusing me. Okay, we'll close my chat, and we'll close the whole thing, and we'll get to it again. But to go back to pivot points over here, gateways, very important. Lots of stuff to talk about with respect to gateways. When you get here on the floor, and they try to teach you a lot about that rebate trading, because we can do that here. We really get into the nitty gritty with respect to gateways. So yeah, that will be on the list. Like oscillators, they're going to be on the list. Like psychology, they're going to be on the list. Like finding stocks to trade, that's going to be on the list. Each one is going to have essentially a week on its own.
Yeah, there's also a question here from Dad Trader.
Yeah,
Can you do a
absolutely.
class on how to hold your positions for longer next, please? I've started the
Psychology?
notes on psychology. I was going to say it. I think there is some stuff with regards to loss aversion that would really, combine with what you're saying here. So I will put that in mind too when I'm making all the notes for stuff. Because I know that's something I struggle with a lot too, is staying in positions for longer.
Yep.
I think I've gotten better about that since we had risk management week. But I think we're all learning, we're all growing, and I think the psychology week shall be very interesting.
Yeah, and
along with all of these, yeah.
You heard Sean today, I on more than one occasion this morning, say a scared trader is a deficient trader. Scared money doesn't make money, and that's just the truth. But if you're going to put on a trade, you're going to have to have the C word. We've talked about the C word so many times. It's not the C word you're thinking of there, guys. It is conviction. You have to have conviction behind the trade, otherwise you're going to take profits too quickly. You're going to at the first little pullback, you're gonna sell. So yeah, there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. Let's not jump the gun right now. Shout out to Blackberry. Looking down over here, guys. I logged in and I logged back out, so I hope you guys can tag me now. But
I'm short 373.12.
yeah, there's not much else I can do. Anything else here in the chat, guys? Caterpillar says, hold my beer. Yeah, I was very happy about Caterpillar moving up today, 253. It's up 1%. I was adding nicely there in the 230s. Got a better cost basis. Still underwater on the trade. Full disclosure, waiting for that nice pop back up. Bears versus Bulls telling me, hey, Sharif, they can't select your name until you type in the chat. They can still tag you, and it will highlight if they spell it right. Yeah, you guys need to spell it right. No, I'm kidding. I know it's a tough name to spell, guys. Let me put a test.
I like how the takeaway is you need to spell it right.
Hello. Adam just tagged me, baby. He says, can't tag you, but learnt your full name off by heart now, my friend. Shout out to Adam. It's working. The Katina man has confirmed that it's working. So, yeah, there he goes. He just tagged me. There we go. There we go. DC says, hi. Mark Price says, works. From my understanding, though, if you're watching on mobile, you have to type in my full name. If you are on desktop, you can just type in a bit of my name, and then you get whatever populates with respect to the letters you popped in. So if you're on mobile, guys, that might be a little bit of a problem. Thank you, guys, for tagging me. All sorts of red rectangles at the moment.
We're going to tag Sharif now.
Pitch Bull. We need to talk about ADRs too. Are you talking about Chinese ADRs, like American Depository Receipts? Or is that like a technical indicator that I just forgot? All right. It's not Sharif, it's Sharif, says Michael Lloyd. Yes, Michael. Adam DeLuce, now it's working. The power of Sean Katina, he says. There it is, baby. Fry Rye says, Sharif, hope y'all having a good morning. You know who says y'all? My cousin's wife, because she's from the dirty South. All right. I think there is a nice pivot point on AMD. Absolutely, I will oblige. Let's have a look at AMD. our friend AMD.
I love that you call it AMD.
Yeah,
And then we
it's
had
a joke.
AMP for a while too.
Right?
When AMP was running.
Yeah, we kind of cycle these names, don't we,
Yeah.
Dara? Yeah. All right, let's look. Fry says there's a good pivot point on AMD, 118.65 and 121. What do you think? So right away, all the charting has been done for me, like I've been talking about. The yellow is the actual pivot point based on yesterday's data. So the yellow line here is at 121.72. But I would submit to you that the better level on the day, based on what is being respected by the current price action, is this white line, and that white line is yesterday's close. You have a reject off it in the pre at 8. You have a reject off the opening high, and subsequently again at 9:45, all off that 121.20, which is yesterday's close, and we are trending below it. And then look at this. Look at this. That support level, bang on Fry, 118.65 is S1, and it is holding to a T. Shout out to you, my friend. Very good observation there. We want to use as many weapons in the tool chest as we've got. And right now, we just used yesterday's close as resistance rather than the pivot point, and we used S1 as support. But recall what the notes say, and we're going to get to it in a second. If you are starting the day out below the yellow line, then you are looking short. If you start out the day above the yellow line, you should be looking long until something changes and it tells you to do otherwise, okay? And then look over here. You start out, this is AMD from yesterday. You start out the day below the yellow line, and it's essentially a short all day. And guess where it's holding support? S2, which is the green line. Oh, you know, it's a trial and error thing, guys.
Yeah.
Let's see what else is being asked. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to all the notes. I'm sorry, guys. Cling Daddy. I think there is a nice pivot point in the wild on Tesla at 235.89. Do you have pivot points over there?
I checked. I do not, unfortunately. But I've been looking at Tesla, and Tesla's a beautiful.
Do you have a Trade Ideas account?
No.
Oh, I bet you we can get you one immediately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you do. There should be one there on that computer. Yeah, you want to give that a try?
There we are. Okay, thank you,
Yeah. Load that up. See what comes of it if it asks you to log in. Give it a sec. It's loading. It's loading, Adair.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's
Where?
Right there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, my count is expired.
Okay, so he's gonna the Neil is coming in to save the day over there. So we're gonna start, guys, talking about pivot points again. I know we're a little early. Usually we start on the hour, but let's talk a little bit about it over here. All right, guys, what are pivot points? A pivot point is a technical analysis indicator or a calculation used to determine the overall trend of the market over different time frames. The pivot point itself, come to the chart, Ram, is the yellow line on my chart. So you're going to see a series of lines over here. The yellow one, this one over here, is the pivot point on my chart. The pivot point itself is simply the average of the intraday high, the intraday low, and the closing price from the previous day. So the current day's pivot point is based upon 3 data points from the previous day, high, low, and close. On the subsequent day, like today, trading above the pivot point, is your mic on mute? Okay, good. On the subsequent day, so today, trading above the pivot point is thought to indicate ongoing bullish sentiment, while trading below the pivot point, it indicates bearish sentiment. So by virtue of the fact yesterday on AMD that we opened up below the pivot point, you should have been looking bearish. Likewise, again today, we opened below the pivot point, you're looking bearish, and you would have printed bouncing off that S1. Yesterday, you would have printed bouncing off S2. The pivot point is the basis for the indicator, but it also includes other support and resistance levels that are projected based on the pivot point calculations. Those levels are 2 resistance levels to the top, R1, R2, and 2 support levels to the bottom, S1 and S2. Okay? All these levels help traders see where the price could experience support and resistance. Similarly, if the price Similarly, if the price moves through these levels, it lets the trader know the price is trending in that direction, okay? Now, I showed you guys the formulas essentially for these pivot points over here. We needn't concern ourselves with calculating this as the software does the calculations for you. But for my math heads out there that are interested, here it is. You can screenshot this, do whatever you need to do. That's what that looks like, okay? Moving on, what do pivot points tell you? Pivot points are an intraday indicator for trading either futures, commodities, equities, instruments alike. Unlike moving averages and oscillators, however, they are static in nature and remain at the same price throughout the day. This means traders can use the levels to help plan out their trading in advance. So when we saw moving averages, when we saw VWAP, those are dynamic. They're constantly changing from 1 minute to another or whatever time frame you're viewing them from. They are always changing based on the current price action. Because pivot points are determined upon yesterday's price action, not today, they are static in nature and they do not change, making them a bit more stable and predictable, but also making them less able to digest new information, right? Because if something intraday happens that has nothing to do with yesterday's price action, these levels are not going to take them into account. So that is kind of the Achilles heel, so to speak. All right? For example, traders know if the price falls below the pivot point, they will be likely shorting early in the session. Conversely, if the price is above the pivot point, like we've seen here on AMD, they will likely be buying. S1, which means support 1, S2, which means support 2, R1, R2, which means resistance 1 and 2, can be used as both target prices as well as stop loss levels. So if you're going long, because you're trading above the pivot point at 930 and you continue trading there, you should be looking for R1 as possibly your first profit taker and R2 as your second. And like I always tell Adair, you hold for the dream. And if you're shorting, because we're below the pivot point at the start of the trading day, you should be looking for your profit target at S1 and then S2, support 1, support 2, because obviously the other way around. Combining pivot points with other trend indicators is common practice with a trader. A pivot point that also overlaps or converges with a 50 period or a 200 period moving average or a Fibonacci extension becomes a stronger support and resistance levels. That's what we're looking for. Shout out to the Kenobi man. We're looking for confluence between multiple indicators. You don't want to rely too heavily on one, at least I don't. You know, that's kind of putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, Adair.
Yeah, and we like to, like we were saying, we like to look for that, that confluence, sorry to use that word
there
again,
it is.
Between other indicators, right? Because it shows if you're also like, sometimes in multiple time frames, we were talking last week, if you have a chart pattern on, like, for example, the 5 minute, try to find some confirmation, like, are we touching VWAP? Are we at a critical level for this stock on, like, the 30 minute? Or is this like an important level on the daily chart? Like, kind of look sometimes for time frame confirmation before dipping your toe in, just to make sure that this is moving in the correct direction. And that there are some other levels that you can kind of look at and be like, we do have some confirmation here of this move. It is, likely to go in this direction, right? And I think also, kind of waiting for levels, not just jumping in a stock, waiting for levels, looking for indicators, et cetera, to really build your confidence in the trade.
Bang. A good couple of comments over here. Abel Gomez, he had a good one over here. I use the 4 hour and draw points on candle reversals. I use the 1 and 2 minute to confirm trades. Shout out to you, Abel. I like, despite the fact that I don't do that, I love the fact that you have a system over there and you're following through with it. Good for you. Roland Joe. Rolling, keep rolling. Have you guys talked about order flow and volume profile? Any thoughts? Sadly, I haven't actually talked about either of those, mainly because we don't have volume profile on any of our software over here. I'd probably have to use TradingView, but it's something that a lot of the traders on the floor over there use. They really do like volume profile. Maybe we'll get to that in someday. We're probably going to have an entire week on volume, but we've already talked about volume extensively as a confirmatory indicator with chart patterns, with moving averages, what have you. volume should always be viewed.
We always talk about volume.
Yeah.
Volume, super important, especially for like, if we're breaking a trend with high volume, the more likely that is to actually, be significant, because it shows a lot of people are climbing towards this and breaking it out of that trend.
Completely unrelated to what we're talking about. Jay Lee just said, dropped some hot fire in the chat. Shout out to Jay. Excellent comment there, Jay. Small cap equals higher loans, equals lower profitability until rates are significantly lower, which won't happen for at least half a year. I'm not typically agreeing with your prediction of the rate cuts, but what you're saying is absolutely right. When we're in an elevated rate environment, that what suffers the most are small caps, because they don't have cash on hand like the mega caps do and can expand using their own funds. They're going to have to go into the money market, raise money at much higher rates, and therefore that eats into margins and profitability. Couldn't agree more with you. Look at the Russell. The Russell is up 2.25 while the NASDAQ is flat. It is the Russell's dang time to shine.
It's like, get out of the way, NASDAQ.
Yeah. The Russell is absolutely flying on very decent volume. I'm looking at the RTY. That is the Russell future contract. I'm looking at the December 15th contract. I know there is the IWM, the ETF. Like I've stated many times before, I'm more interested in what institutional investors are doing. They use the Russell to hedge and enter major positions, as opposed to the IWM, which is more retail focused. Hence why I am more inclined to have a look at the future. Brian Flores, check out the weekly pivot points on the MNQ futures. 16,010.50 has been a key level all week. The market may have just bounced off it again today. Also, 16,005 is a weekly VWAP. We love when there is confluence between the levels. Ram, chart. There we go. Let's have a look.
That needs to be like a shirt or something.
It's gonna happen. Brendo's
You're
gonna
so
make
confident.
it happen. Brendo's gonna make it happen. Let's go. Okay, so the pivot point on today's MNQ, doesn't really matter. Well, it does, but there's a small variance between the MNQ and the NQ. 15,979 is the pivot point, and that's based on yesterday's high, low, and close, okay? But we're actually here rejecting off that 16,000 area, so it looks like the 100-point area is really the area in which to look. It's also rejecting off the 200 EMA. But look where it found support. Lo and behold, we found some support right at S1. This is super interesting. I can't believe I haven't used this in the past. This is really interesting. Anyway, yeah, it's not something I want to rely too heavily on until I really, get some reps under my belt on it. But it's something that I'm going to be looking at every day.
Some pivot point push-ups.
Yeah. I like that. Speaking of push-ups, Neil's going to be doing a lot of push-ups December 17th.
Wait, is December 17th the day of the Bring Sally Up debacle? Is it?
You don't have to throw that in there, Neil. Come on. Neil gave me a really, honestly, he gave me an excellent dissertation about the problems with Dallas yesterday, and I think he was accurate.
That was a good essay.
Yeah, he was accurate on pretty much everything. I got to tell you, I was not impressed with Dallas' performance yesterday, but good teams win bad games, and that's what it was. So many damn penalties. Oh, my goodness. Penalties. Anyway, we digress a little bit there. Moving on to some other comments. User says, Shuri Federa, thoughts on Lulu? Looks like it's going to retest all-time highs prior to earnings. Sure, you want to have a look at that?
Yeah, I was looking at Lulu earlier. I don't have tons of thoughts on it intraday, just because we know my thing about getting in on something involved at the high of day, because I don't know how much farther this thing's going to go. Do you know what I mean? Lulu low, very nice to the upside today. Looks like we could be pulling back a bit. I have no qualms about. I will trade Lulu. I've traded Lulu before. It's like Eli Lilly for me. It's like a Netflix. I like these names that kind of move like molasses until they don't. So I will keep an eye on Lululemon. In terms of your all-time high comment, let's look at the daily chart here. I mean, okay, you look at Lululemon. Lululemon is beautiful. Lululemon, to me, we had sort of a flat channel for a bit there, and then we kind of flew what am I even saying? Flat, I guess a flat-ish channel, but still mostly heading to the upside. We had sort of a double top here, then we kind of flew up here. I mean, I would say Lulu looks very strong. Like, I do not see, like, at least from a chart perspective, lots of strength in Lululemon. We also had that Peloton deal, so, and you know, it realized that mirror thing was not working. Lululemon seems willing to grow and expand and change. I do not have any issues with Lululemon for myself personally. This daily chart is looking healthy, I would say. It looks like it's doing a lot of yoga. I'm so sorry. And then, but yeah, intraday, I dislike the lack of volume, and I dislike, you know, I like to have a nice point of entry. Also, some people ask me about my NVIDIA short. So I would love to talk about my NVIDIA short. So for one, like, you know, I am, to be clear, I am paper trading, I am on sim, but why? I still like this trade. And I like this trade because look at how much we stalled at 470. I watched us fail to decisively break above 470 so many times. And I kind of said to myself, I don't want to get in this too late. Like, once we have a decisive break below 470, I don't want to be like left like, oh, why did I miss out on that? I'm getting it at 470. I realize this is also counterintuitive to what I normally do, which is like, I don't like getting involved in things near high of day or low of day. That being said, I am so confident in NVIDIA's ability to fail 470. Why? Because look at how much we've done it already today. We had that one wick above it. We've not really decisively broken above it. If a high of day is 470.82, we make a new high of day. I am outie. Bye-bye, NVIDIA. But yeah, that is, I understand why people think it's a long. It is, you know, we're up on the day. We did have a higher low, or sorry, a lower high, a higher high. Third time's the charm there. We had a higher high in NVIDIA, thank you. But yeah, we're not like that positive on the day. We're only up about like 0.5%. And the amount of failure that we had at that 470, because I didn't get in the second I saw it, I waited a little bit here. I bided my time, I bid my time, what have you. But yeah, I like this until we break 470.82. That would be new HOD, and that would be bye-bye for me. So I just, to explain this. Yeah, thank you, Cryptonomics in the chat. She's learning. I hope so. I hope so. But yeah, so we're going to see how that goes.
Absolutely. Yeah, good luck there. All right, let's move on and talk about the possible confluence between pivot points and Fibonacci retracements. I was scolded the other day for saying it wrong by some of the Italian guys in the chat there, but
yeah,
you know, I can doing the best I can here. You know,
Yeah.
pivot points and fib retracements or extensions both draw horizontal lines and mark potential support and resistance areas. The fib indicator is useful because it can be drawn between any two significant price points. So when we talked about fibs, you know, the way I do it on my platform is I take the fib tool, I drag from the low or the breakout area, and I draw to the high, the current high, okay? That's what it means when you can draw between two price points, such as a high and a low. It will then create levels between those 2 points. Between the high and the low point, it'll give me the quarter, the third, the half, the 2/3, the 3/4, or general areas. I know those are not the exact numbers, but those general areas, okay? Fib retracements and extension levels can thus be created by connecting any price point on a chart. Once the levels are chosen, lines are drawn at percentages of the price range selected. Pivot points, in contrast, do not use percentages and are based on a set fixed numbers. Again, the high, the low, and the close from the opening day. Yeah, Adara is getting pumped up over there because she just got top wick on our friend NVIDIA. Show this woman's chart, Ram. This girl's printing.
I am so happy. I shared my, now we're kind of heating back up a little bit here. But yeah, we had a nice dump on NVIDIA. Like I said, I'd rather be early to the party on this, especially when I witnessed how much we were failing that 470 level. See, now we're kind of going back to the upside a little bit. I like that a little bit less. Probably should have taken a little bit out of that 469. But yeah, until we break 470 decisively or above, I'm going to chill it here. Sorry, I got a little bit too excited there.
That's too cool. But is 470 the right area there? Can I put you a little bit on the spot?
Yeah, please
Where's
do.
the higher high here, Adara?
I mean, the higher high, I guess, would be, see, now we're breaking above this. Ugh.
Yeah.
I should have probably waited on that, I guess.
That's all. Yeah. It's all good.
But yeah, I mean,
reps, and more reps.
And thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, I probably should have had a little profit taker, beak wetter, what have you, at that 469, because it looks like this trade has now maybe gone against me. But yeah, that was I got a little too excited there about that NVIDIA trade there. Yep. Also, there was someone in the chat mentioning.
Can I just
Havana Woody saying that adding pivot points to the chart was helping seeing the fib connection.
Oh,
I just wanted to mention
fantastic.
that
Yeah.
before you go back to fib.
There's
there.
like one last little
Yeah,
thing
no,
here.
of course.
The limitations, guys, of pivot points, right? We got to talk about the good stuff and the bad stuff. The limitation of pivot points is that they're based on a simple mathematical calculation. While they work for some traders, others may not find them useful at all. Isn't that always the case? There is no assurance the price will stop at, reverse at, or even reach the levels created on the chart. They can be somewhat arbitrary, but they are based on recent data, and hence why they're more, they're more espoused by intraday traders because they're they're based on yesterday's price action as opposed, the moving average, especially if you're using the 200. Even if you're using an exponential, there is so much historical data making up that level that you may not find it relevant anymore. Other times, the price will move back and forth through a level. As with all indicators, it should only be used as part of a complete trading plan. And that's what I want to keep harping on. I've got VWAP on my chart. It doesn't mean I live and die by what is happening on VWAP. It means I take it into consideration every time. It helps factor my decision making. But if the particular instrument in question doesn't give a you-know-what about VWAP on that day, I'm not going to use it until I see some sort of respect between the instrument and the indicator in question. And there should be no difference in your mentality and in your thinking between using pivot points and how you would use VWAP or moving averages. You have to look to see if it's jiving with that particular instrument on that particular day. Q&A for Papa Powell is wrapping up, says the Brendo. So yeah, if you are following along and looking for a possible move here on the future or on some of these bigger names, we could get something here as his remarks wrap up. Havana Woody, what's up, baby? Wait, I have been dragging. Hold on, what did you say? Wait, I have been dragging from high to low with the fibs. I have been doing it wrong. I don't think it makes much of a difference, to be honest with you, because the levels that come, if you draw from high to low or low to high, or end up being the same. Case in point, come to the chart. Let me show you. Let me take off pivot points and my EMA so that it can be completely blank, and we can do some fibbing. That's pretty cool, some fibbing.
I love that.
All right, bro, I'm
Don't
really bad at it. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's like so great too there, eh? Like,
I mean, why not?
If you were a fibber. Anyway, so you drag from here, from the low to the high, and then look what I get. I have the 0 and the 100. In between, I have 76.4 and 23.6. Those are the same distance apart from 0 and 100. So even if you draw it the other way, it's still going to be the same thing. Likewise, with that 38.2 and that 61.8, they're both the same distance from 100 and 0. So even though the numbers are different, the distance is the same, so it should, in effect, be the same thing. But, do whatever makes you happy, my man. Did I just get a message there? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Let's see what else is being asked over here before we go on. What's a Fibonacci pivot point? No, Rahul, we're not saying Fibonacci's and pivot points are the same. We're talking about using them together and seeing if there's any confluence between the levels that the fibs are showing you and that the pivot points are showing you. The more confluence you see at a particular level by different indicators, the more important that level should be to you. That's the whole thinking there. AF, I like that name. I think if you want to go long, you set fib from low to high. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm just saying it doesn't make a difference. If you want to go long, go from low to high. If you're going short, go from high to low. It doesn't make a difference anyway. The numbers you get are different, but the levels of those numbers from the areas, from the breakout or the breakout and the resistance areas are the same. Adam, it matters when you want to look at the levels beyond 100. Okay, I never really look at levels beyond 100, but I see them drawn there. So look, this is what Adam is talking about. So as I draw it over here, look how all these lines, no, Ram, come to the chart, right?
Ram.
The lines over here, so this is 0, but look, there's lines below it. But I still think that they're same distance, Adam. I don't see any difference in the distance between what's populating to the high side and what's populating to the low side. They're still equidistant apart.
Equidistant.
Yeah, they are equidistant.
I love it.
No, they are.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong, baby. But yeah, I got you. I see what you're saying there. Let's see, and that's not something I use all the time anyway. Anything else? There must be a correction. No, not seeing that. Okay. Any questions with respect to pivot points? Put them in the chat. Anything on your side, Adair?
Yeah, I think question-wise, well, I think it's interesting, like with regards to Fibonacci's, it's just like an example, like, you know, looking for any other indicators. But like, I guess, and this comes back to a question, I believe, from BlackBerry earlier, saying, are there any specific indicators that like don't work well together? I think like maybe a more interesting facet of that is like the fact that certain indicators might match better together, right? Like we do have the example like Fibonacci's meshing really well with pivot points, right? Like there are certain indicators that maybe do have more confluence with each other than others, which I think is interesting and something to think about. And that, again, it also depends too on what the instrument's doing that day, because not all assets on all days are going to interact with the same indicators in all ways.
Exactly.
That was kind of rhymey, but the point still
I think
stands.
you're right.
Right? So I think that's the big thing, and I think that's why I found like BlackBerry, I found your question really interesting. I think it's like maybe less about which ones don't work well together and which ones do, and also why sometimes, and also like again, keeping all of this in mind with remembering the fact that, you know, and I think it was something that Sharif said recently that, you know, be cognizant of the major indicators always, like VWAP and everything like that, while recognizing that they're not always going to be interacting with all the stocks at every time, especially with intraday trading. VWAP could be your bestie with one stock at like 10 a.m. and then an hour later, VWAP and that stock do not even interact, right? So I think being very nimble and fluid.
I think hell of a point.
Yeah. Thank you.
Adam says, you are right about the equal distance separation, just people may get confused when it's a 61.8 level and a 38.2 level. Absolutely accurate. That is accurate. Just if you know it in your mind, you know it in your mind. Jay Lee, give people simplified math. When you use fractal, Fibonacci, etc., it's much more confusing than the golden ratio 1.61 to 1, which tends to repeat everywhere in nature. Just saying. I didn't actually know that. Thank you for telling me about that, though. Interesting comment from Jay. IC3ZA. That's a hell of a name. Ooh. Sharifi. He called me Sharifi.
I like that.
Ah, that's nice. The fib levels of 0.236 and 0.786 won't be the same if you draw the one from the top and the other from the bottom. Okay. It's slightly different, says Derek S. The 0.236 and the 0.786 are slightly apart from each other. Overlay them on a higher time frame and they're not the same. I'll have to do that test. Thank you for letting me know. Short test at 2:30. Where are we? Yeah, interesting. What did you do over there? You got a trade? Oh, still coming down?
Well, yeah, no, I was clapping for Sean. I can show Sean. Yeah, Sean he got in at you said 239 on Tesla, and now Tesla is falling.
Attaboy.
This is a beautiful one.
It was just off yesterday's close.
Off of yesterday's close.
The price that Sharif always says is so.
I was gonna say, yeah, I like it with regards to us talking to you about pivot points in yesterday's close. And yeah, it's looking like a very nice little short there.
Why is the closing level important?
Because, okay.
I don't mean to put you on the
it's
spot,
okay.
but I kind of have to.
I'm trying to try.
But
so
I'll have to ask you off camera.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Spot, right?
So I think that the closing price is important because that's the level. If we gap up or down, we're gapping up or down from that price, right?
Remember what I said? Yeah, it could be. I'm not saying you're wrong. The other reason that I tend to champion is that's the committed money. That's the money that stayed in the trade at the end of the day, right? That's not the intraday money.
Thank you. That makes more sense.
D-Loaf, $5 Canadian. Oh,
Ooh.
baby.
Oh, Canada.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm going to read it, but it is what it is. Just got rinsed on TMS for no stop in place. Had too many people calling me, congratulating me on passing my CPA exam. No sweat. I'll make it all made back just now. Look, we're going to spin the money for you because you just passed your dang CPA exam. Shout out to you, brother. Congratulations. Obviously, start of a new career for you here, I'm assuming.
That's awesome.
And you're going to be one hell of, fundamental investor like the Alfred Zhang. I like saying that. Alfred Zhang. Yeah, he's a CPA, and that's why he's doing all that value investing. It helps you really understand balance sheets and how to read a financial statement. Don't forget us when you get to the top, D-Loaf. Shout out to you, my man.
Nice. Congratulations to D-Loaf.
Absolutely.
And thank you for the super chat.
Futuristic. You know why small caps squeeze so much? Couple of reasons. The Russell is up 2.25. They could also be low float. If they're low float, meaning the amount of shares that are tradable on the market is a low amount, meaning that a big account with a lot of money could buy up a lot of those shares and move it multiple levels because of, you know, the ease with which you're able to move it. So, you know, low float, small cap stocks tend to be much more volatile and they tend to squeeze, especially if, you know, there's a lot of buying pressure there. Sorry, just trying to keep the chat from... Yeah, there we go. IC3ZA, you're welcome. The 618 and 382 are the same, but you'll see there's a small difference between 236 and 286. Very interesting. I was always under the impression that, you know, they were always equidistant. I guess they're not. Thank you for letting me know that. Oleg, can you apply fib on WOOF? WOOF. 30% short and give us levels. It's contract with gap. Let's have a look at WOOF. All right, let me remove these. Well, first of all, let's see what they're doing with pivot points over here. Right, let's just see if there's any interesting observations we can make with respect to pivot points. Well, yesterday's pivot point was a hell of a resistance level. Look, we gap down and then we move up and reject exactly off that pivot point. So that would have been interesting. Today, it holds in the exact same way that it didn't yesterday. It rejected off the pivot point. Today, it uses the pivot point as a hold. So that's very interesting. And then we're also coming into R2 over here, Oleg, which is around that 337. So you might want to be wetting your beak, not financial advice, but you know, if you're going to use this strategy, you might as well wet the beak at R2. But yeah, good look there. Now let's take this off and use some fibs. See what the fibs are up to over here. Apply OK. And well, from today, well, today is the breakout, even though yesterday was a good day. So I'm kind of inclined to draw from yesterday. Maybe we'll do both. So this is always the tricky part. Do you draw from the wick or do you draw from the closing price? I'm going to go ahead and draw from the closing price, because that's kind of my jam. What do you want me to look at? What was this choice? Give us levels. So obviously, this is the 100% level because it's as far as we've gone. Then you have that 161.8. Which is at that 350 level. So that's the level I'm seeing there. That's if you draw it from the closing print. If you draw it from the wick, you're going to have a different level. Much same is the case as if you draw it from yesterday, because yesterday was the beginning of the up move, and you have two levels from which to draw it yesterday. You have the closing print on that main candle and the low. So yeah, we're not really doing too much with fibs. So 350 is what I see there. Jay Lee, fib is literally a golden ratio, 1.61 to 1, which Greeks figured out more than 2,000 years ago. Parthenon uses this ratio for length and width. I'm a math nerd and computer science. Shout out to you,
Great.
man. Yeah, very interesting there. Thank you for letting us know that. And the more we know, the better, baby.
Yeah,
Darwin.
power.
Shout out to the chat OG. That's Darwin's name in my nickname. He's a chat OG because he knows a lot of funny stories from a long time ago, so you can tell, you know. He's
okay, you can tell he's been there.
Yeah. He knows. He's the OG. The world record for burpee pulls is 26.
I think it's with regards to you. Maybe you guys
think you could beat it? No. Quite frankly, I don't. Burpee pull-ups? I'm sure there's more. I don't know what the hell burpee pulls is, but if it's burpee pull-ups, then I'm surprised it's only 26. That's something we used to do in CrossFit, where you do burpees to bar. So you would do a burpee, and then you would have the pull-up bar on the rig ahead of you, and you have to do a pull-up. Then you go back, do a burpee, and it would usually be mixed in with something else. Kind of explain what you mean there, because I'm not really sure. Ivan. Never use pivot for stocks under 5. It's for mid. Never say never, bro. Okay, that just offhand. It's according to you. It is for mid large cap. Look at SPY for example. Pivot is 455.42. Hold R1 457.51. First bump R2 458.84. 10 to 20 cent space required. Fair. I do agree with that. I just wouldn't say never about anything. I would say, you know, I don't
Like the Justin
typically
Bieber
use it.
song, Never Say Never.
Yeah. Reliable Rudy, shout out to Reliable, my man. CrossFitters don't do burpees. Wow, Neil's coming in hot in the chat there.
Ooh.
Jeez. Well, I think he's talking about strict burpees, which you actually have to do the actual push-up. CrossFitters use their stomach to kind of leverage the burpee up. So, say it again? Oh yeah, they don't typically do it the way the Marines do it, the Marine standard, Neil says, and he's right. But, you know, in everyday movement, you're going to use leverage. So it's functional, because when you are moving in real life, you are not going to move in a strict way and have everything isolated. You are going to kind of try to get as much leverage as you want. Say it again? Absolutely, absolutely. He says you build better strength the other way, and he's absolutely right. Havana Woody, the Fibonacci is specifically not linear. The skill is translating the ratios to percentages, and skills change. Oh, interesting. Very interesting there. Darwin, what is this? The 20 previous 20% record. 21 guy did 1 burpee, then pull up, repeated 26 in 1 minute in 1 minute.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that I can definitely
that makes more
see.
sense.
Oh, that's insane.
You'd have to be like a speedy.
Holy, yeah.
Especially if you're doing like the
my
full
goodness.
burpee. Apologize for the weird movement there, but yeah, that'd be crazy.
Manuel Avina does not want me speaking about CrossFit. I'm assuming, you know, he may have a bad experience or not like it.
Not a CrossFit fan.
Lots of funny jokes about people in CrossFit on the internet.
Really?
Bodybuilders and strength trainers always make fun of CrossFitters.
Yeah, I
it's
know,
like
that's
a running gag.
There's one dude that I like follow like for like the YouTube or whatever for a workout, and yeah, I don't think he's a huge CrossFit
No,
fan.
He talks back about CrossFit.
Yeah, you're right.
That wouldn't be the only person. I've seen plenty of stuff. Going down, all right. Mardi Cat, can you explain the difference of support and resistance when you are sitting at a potential breakout? Thanks. So the breakout likely will either be a resistance level. Typically it will be a resistance level because you're breaking out from that particular resistance. So when you're in a breakout trade, it's a resistance level. If you're shorting and you're trying to take it below a support level, it's a breakdown trade. I don't know exactly what you're asking about with respect to support and resistance, except in that particular context. Obviously, there may be support below that resistance level. If you're going long, that's probably where you should have your stop. Marshall Minority, don't do CrossFit style workouts unless you're already in good shape. Marshall Minority. All right, thank you for your opinion. Pillsbury. Oh, gee, he's talking to Jay Lee. Okay. Anything here specific? IC3ZA. Someone mentioned average true range earlier. It's average true range, which is typically derived from the 14-day simple moving average of a series of true range indicators and can be in dollars or in percentage terms. I use ATR for trailing stops and for stops. I don't typically use it intraday. I use it more for my swing trades. Intraday, I'm using typically support and resistance levels based on price action from previous days, or if I'm doing really intraday, then, you know, higher highs, higher lows. You guys know what I'm talking about there if you've been watching the show. I don't typically use it intraday, but we talked a lot about average true range earlier. It should be noted here, we are coming into 16,000 on the future, so we're kind of a nice little recovery there since Papa Powell started talking. And I've been missing out on a lot of trades lately because I've been having to talk up a storm over here, but we're doing that dance at 16,000. And in the same way, that concerns me, where we're getting wicks above 16 and then we're closing at or below 16. So I'm going to need to see some higher highs here. But great breakout from that level, and especially from 15.9, because we were sub 15.9 earlier on. So that's an interesting look. So good move up on the future. Almost 2.4% right now for the Russell as well. 0.14 on the NQ. The ES doing a lot better than the NQ. 46. Oh, we're at 4,600 on the ES. No
what?
Dang way. Way over here. Been talking about this level for a long time. Okay, so the ES, we're at 4,600, guys, and we're also at 16,000, pardon me. So those two, nice confluence between those two at critical levels. 4,600, we know we rejected off that level a few days ago when, well, we didn't even really make it up there. We made it to 49.96, 45.96, bit of a double top there. This is a local high over here where we're actually touching 4,600. High of day just made 4,675. The ES is absolutely pumping to the high side here. 4 uninterrupted green half-an-hour candles to the high side after that opening range touch at resistance. Good look on the ES, outperforming the NQ today. Could we be cycling? Could there be cyclicality here where we start getting out of big tech and more into the overall market? We know the Russell is absolutely rocketing to the high side today, so it's a good look there. Let's go back to the chat. John Del Segno, I bought about 25 or 30 shares of CAT a few weeks after you. We're pumping. Yes, sir, I've been buying hand over fist on CAT. I don't even want to talk about how many shares I have. Noah, No Jam is my name. Can you apply pivot points to TMC, please? Sure. Let's go over here to TMC. Obviously a low volume name. Let's turn pivot points back on. There we go. Okay, so today, we're at a resistance level. We're at R1. Looks like we rejected that R1 area. Yesterday it was good because we opened up below the pivot point and we continued to trend down. Today, we broke above that pivot point early on, right at 9:30. We were above it, so decent day to go long. Yeah, look for support maybe at 115 on TMC. Look for it to hold possibly that the pivot point level if it comes off that 120, which it looks like it is. That's only like 2 pennies away from here. Not much movement though, I gotta tell you. No Jim on this name, so it's decent. On the day prior, Wednesday, look at that, holding, what's it called? S1 quite well.
Yeah.
Where was the 930 print there? See, the thing is, this is quite bamboozling because look, the 930 print were above the pivot point, right?
Oh.
We're above it, so you're thinking long.
Yeah.
And then look what happens. You go short. So, you know, it's not hard and fast rule over here.
So I guess then is it easier too if you also like when it went back and forth between us there? This was fun. But also, so I guess is it usually better to wait a little bit before acting on the pivot points, like wait and see what we do at 9:30?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have the answer to that because I haven't really started using them in the wild yet. I'm definitely going to start. These are going to be on my on a chart for me to look at every day. These are excellent.
We're using everything
I
in
need
the
to know
wild
more
over
about
here.
The Neil has alerted me to the super chat. Is that Arsenal? You like ARs?
Everything's an arsenal.
500 Argentinian pesos. Thank you very much, Mauricio.
It's $2.
Yeah. I love this educational series. Nice work, both of you. Fibonacci works better with overlaying it from same point to 2/3 difference ones with the trend, and then overlay zone resulting usually works as a pivot zone. My 2 cents, Caroline borrowed in book. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you so much. For the super
Absolutely,
chat.
thank you for your insight and thank you for the super chat for that. So take note. Elon, Sharif, hi Sharif, kudos to you and Adara, Ram.
It's okay.
Doing the mentoring work. Wouldn't it affect you not being able to focus on day trading shares? Yeah, that's why I haven't been in any trades here, guys. I mean, we gotta look at this stuff, and that's the way it is.
Yeah, like if I see something like, kind of obvious, I'll just kind of have it on. But yeah, I've been taking less trades as well. I also think the market this week has been kind of wild, so I've been a little bit more hands off.
Oh,
but
nice.
yeah, pardon?
Are those 2 beak wetters on NVIDIA?
Yeah, I got out because I took a very small amount of shares, especially with it. Thank you. With it being a little bit riskier because we were near high of day. Yeah, actually, Changa Sherpa asking me in the chat. Great job on NVIDIA. Thank you. What was your entry point and why? I got in right at 470 because if you notice here, we had this continued fail to break above 470. And I got in right at 470. I've said, and I'll say it before I said it again, I get a little bit nervous near high of day for a short and then low of, or like either way, like I get nervous high of day either direction because you don't really know what it's going to do from there. So I waited for a while, saw this continued fail to print above 470. I dipped my toe in. I said if we break the high of day of 470.82, I'm saying goodbye. Got my first peak wetter, got at 468. I want to take the rest out. Sorry, 469. was where I got out initially. Then I was going to get out 468, did not get filled. We kind of flew to the high side from there. Once we broke that 469.50, that is where I got out. Not a bad trade, 50-cent winner and then $1 winner for half the shares. I didn't get that much in to begin with because, you know, risk management. And if you have a riskier trade, maybe take less shares because I will fully acknowledge the riskiness of this trade. But yeah, I am happy. If we see this failure to break above 470 again, maybe we will dip yet another toe inside this trade. But yeah, I'm happy here.
Sounds good, and that's a hell of a trade there.
Thank you so much.
Magic Mike, I feel like 4610 is likely to be touched on the ES. All right, we'll have a look and see what we're doing on the ES. It's been a good day. We're doing that 4600 dance right now, but I know we broke above it. So let's just wait and see what we get, what it manifests into. Going down here, just making sure that I didn't miss any of these. Squanchy. That's a hell of a name too, man. Here's that confluence you like on NAS. What's your next? What's next in your opinion? What on the NASDAQ? Okay, on NAS. I like. What confluence are you talking about though, Squanchy? What am I looking at specifically? Am I looking at the pivot points with moving averages? What am I looking at here? Zion, Lala, Sharif, Adera, CRM with a good trend up. Any thoughts where it can go today? Bought at 256, 257 area. Yeah, CRM has been a hell of a mover because they reported, and Mark Benioff doing real well with that company, quite frankly. There's the earnings report there. It does its little, you know, algo wick into S1, and then boom goes the dynamite. Yesterday opens up above the pivot point, and it continues to trend much the same thing today. Opens above the pivot point, continues to trend up, blowing through R2 and on its way possibly into R2 from yesterday, which would take us to that 270 level. So good move up on CRM. I've got really nothing on here. I'll have to do a wider time frame. Wow, we got to go to on the daily on this bad boy. We haven't been up here in a while, looks like. Okay, I got to take these pivot points off because they're so distracting.
Ooh.
Yeah, when you look at it on the daily, it's nuts,
like
right?
Psychedelic. My contacts are like,
Yeah, there we go. We take them off. All right. Interesting levels here, you know, because we've cleared this peak. And now we're looking at this over here. There was a nice triple, not exactly triple top. That 270 level looks awfully tempting. Above that, we're looking at 285, and above that is that 312 area. So I would say to you, the first level with which you should be looking for some profit taking on the daily anyway, because it's a bit of a gap between where we have been and where we were. That 270 level looks awfully interesting. I got to tell you the truth on that. So that would be my suggestion.
I like that.
Yeah. No jam. LOL, thank you. Okay, cool. Moving down. Anything else that you guys want to know? Try to keep it on point with what we're talking about, pivot points, this, that, and the other. Otherwise, if you want to talk about some overlapping stuff that we've talked about earlier this week. The Katina Man is now short Disney. New position. Price, please. 75. 92, 75. Katina Man short. DISSS means short sale on that one. Shout out, hey Bob.
Hey
right?
Bob.
Hey Bob.
I was rewatching that last
So
night. It's
funny.
like the smile on his face when he says, "Hey Bob," is
Yeah. He's so proud
like,
of
"Hey,
himself.
Bob.
He's like looking
Are you
for
here,
Bob in the
Bob?"
crowd too. Bob, you out there? Yeah. He's awesome. I don't care.
I just get such a kick out of the confidence with which all of that was said.
Right.
Yeah, Disney, I was looking at kind of this downward trend earlier on Disney for a short, but then we kind of broke higher, so I'm not interested. I'm kind of interested right now because we had that failed wick higher, which, you know, Sharif, you taught me that if we have like an unfulfilled wick, sometimes it can show that the sellers are overpowering the buyers.
There you go.
Maybe at that range.
Especially at critical levels.
At critical
that you've
levels.
already
This is near a double
identified.
top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank
Yes.
you. I appreciate
Bang.
that. So yeah, there we go. And I think also with all of the news regarding Disney, if people were unaware yesterday, there was a little mini mass cancellation of Disney Plus subscriptions amongst ex-users who were like, oh my gosh, like pro Elon. If you look up like Disney canceled on Twitter yesterday, it was a very entertaining time. I did that because I was seeing, I guess like people were saying this was popping. But yeah, I mean, Disney, I've done a double top short in Disney before, and I'm not saying that past movement will always work. And again, like I am paper trading, so it's a little bit different here too. But I mean, I like this here. I like that we had the unfulfilled wick. I like the double top. I like the, the bad press associated with Disney. Also, Disney's been in the news with regards to Bob Iger's recent comments about his thoughts on the movies. He was talking about that in the DealBook Summit, saying he didn't really like all the directions that all the movies had necessarily gone. There's also the Trian and Nelson Peltz, aka Brooklyn Beckham's father-in-law. No, I'm joking, but actually he is his father-in-law. Basically saying more or less, like we want board seats. Disney saying no to the board seats. Disney slightly negative on the day. I'm going to consider this for myself personally. But yeah, just keeping an eye on that. Also, NVIDIA flying. So I'm happy I got out of there when I did, because it looks like now, I mean, like the trend on this in the day generally, to me at least, does look longer, right? We had like higher highs. We still haven't broken that new high of day, but yeah, I think it's not, like at least for myself, not really a short anymore. I will wait and see on that. Also, I'm looking at Eli Lilly as a potential double bottom. We had sort of an ill-fated short here, and I can explain why I got short where I did. Or sorry, it was a long. It was an ill-fated long. I've been shorting so much lately. It was an ill-fated long. And again, yeah, like paper trade. I got in here at this 594.40 because we were seeing lower, although this is pre-market, so I should have probably kept that in mind as well. We had lower highs. It looked generally like a longer trend. We were up on the day. Also, with regards to Eli Lilly, we had the Pfizer news about the weight loss drug trial getting canceled, so I thought maybe this could work in Eli Lilly's favor. Alas, it did not. But we're seeing a nice kind of bottom consolidation forming around 591. We had an earlier bottom at 591, and we're seeing these unfulfilled wicks at a key level, which, as you know, as like Sharif was just saying too, to me, not always, because nothing is set in stone, but sometimes this can mean, if we have key levels, wicks to the downside at key levels, you can kind of infer like maybe this is an area where we do see, at this case, like buyers out overpowering sellers, right? You can't really see these wicks fulfilled. So I shall keep an eye on Eli Lilly as I normally do. I was also looking at Netflix because originally it looked like we were kind of in a short here as well. We had lower highs, but then we kind of did a bit of a compression here. So I shall wait to see what is going on. Kevy82 in the chat, at some point today, I think Adara will short LLY, LOL. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think today, I think the look for me is more long. But like I said, 591, where we had that bottom, will be a critical level. Some people mentioning Lucid in the chat. So I'm going to pull up Lucid LCID. Okay, Lucid, hello. We had a sort of double high, then we blew the top off that double high. And like sort of an ascending channel, an upward trend. Either way, Lucid up 6% on the day. Do we have news on Lucid? Let's find out. This was on, I don't think this was trending at 3 a.m. yesterday on Benzinga, that Lucid considered a Tesla-like steering wheel, but then opted to say no. So I don't think that's really what's moving Lucid over here. But yeah, interesting times looking at Lucid. Also, VinFast was moving yesterday. Yeah, I always like to look at, bye VinFast. VinFast doing what it normally does, which is nothing or heading to the downside. I kind of like this. We might break this flat channel here, but VinFast and I are not besties.
Why? You love VinFast. You were so pumped yesterday when I came into the office. Dara's like the first one or second one here. I think Neil's first, right?
Usually Neil.
Neil, and then Adara, and then I come in usually third. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's Brendo. It depends on the day. And then the first day I come in, she's like, VinFast is moving.
Well, okay, was I that enthusiastic?
No. Obviously, I have to add effect for,
Well, I was going to say, I think what I was saying about, now Neil's also in the chat roasting me.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, Neil's has something to say.
Go ahead, Neil.
If VinFast moves more than 5 minutes of showing up.
That is true.
So I'm pretty sure you do love VinFast.
Oh, no, he doesn't.
Can they hear him? Okay, so we just, there he is. There he is.
He's right.
Right away, baby. Just say it.
I think my thing with VinFast, and Neil is right, I do this, and Sharif is also right, I am like hand waving excited. I think my thing with VinFast is that I think because it's so often down, when it's up, I think it means something. Whether or not that something is good or bad, I just find on the days that VinFast is randomly up like 20% because it's so rare, I think, you know, it's something worth mentioning to the market.
Were you here when it was going up? Or you just come when it started coming down?
I came on when it was on the downside.
On the
I came around
downside,
that time
yeah,
that someone
okay.
called it like, you know, like I forget who it was. Some investor guy was like trashing Vin stock, saying it was like the new meme stock or something like that. So to me, I think every time I see VinFast doing something not horrifyingly negative, I get excited. But you and Neil are correct. I would seem like a closet VinFast fan.
No, I'm not.
And
I
I
don't
understand.
mean that.
No, I'm
Like,
joking.
Have
I'm
you even
joking.
seen their cars?
I've been by the Yorkdale
You have,
location,
okay.
yeah.
Brendo was telling me for the first time he saw it on the road. He saw it in the wild.
Oh yeah, in the wild.
In the wild. But yeah, I've been seeing them for a while. I live beside a mall called Yorkdale Shopping Center.
Oh, you live right by there?
Oh, yeah, I
Okay.
live Midtown, right?
That's nice.
And it's been there for a while. It's been there for a few years during the pandemic, and it's never impressed me. But hey, if they do well, they do well, man. What do I know? Absolutely, it's Midtown. I live at York Mills, and that's Midtown. Yorkdale is at 401, so it's a little bit north of that.
Down to what? Like between here.
Well, from Yorkdale, from York Mills to Steeles, that's uptown. From St. Clair to York Mills, that's Midtown. Right, or Bloor. I think it's Bloor to York Mills is Midtown.
I never heard of.
No? Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Who knows? I don't think it's a big deal. BlackBerry, Adara, Sharif, what is happening to MicroStrategy? Is it a bull flag or a symmetrical pennant? Let's try to stay on topic, BlackBerry. Let's, because we already talked about chart patterns. Terper, can you go over Lucid, please? I think Adara already did that.
Yeah.
Jordan Smith, do you like the strength on airlines? I mean, oh boy. So we're gonna have to look at, if we're gonna get into other things, let's have a look at MicroStrategy first for BlackBerry. MSTR, shout out to Michael Saylor. All right, well, we know that crypto names have been absolutely running.
Yes.
Right, and that's just been the case as of late. Let's go up here. Where are we at now? We're decidedly up on the day. I mean, what are we up on the day, actually? We're up 4.81%. What a fantastic look today. But we broke above R2, right? We didn't even stop at R1. We gapped up above the pivot point. We never even got to the pivot point on the day. And now let's look at some price action levels. Okay, so we are above the high on the 24th. Are we at local highs here? Yes, we are. It looks like we are at local highs. The other high that okay, so this takes us back to November 9th. The closing print was right where we are at right now, 530. On that day, though, we did wick into 535. So there is possibly room up if we can get above 530, but it looks like that 530 level is going to hold on the day unless we get some other big move here. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but it looks like this pivot point, or sorry, this R2 is giving up the ghost as it comes down a little bit now. We'll have to wait and see. Airlines. Airlines are decidedly higher on the day. You've got American Airlines 3.86, Delta 2.79, United 2, even Love is up 3.5. I do like the strength on the airlines. I just don't know how much more the consumer has left in the tank. So that's my only concern. That's nothing technical. 'Tis the season, Ram says. Absolutely. But the consumer has got to have money for 'tis the season.
I like the 'tis the season.
Yeah, it is
It's a nice
'tis the
sentiment,
season. She's
yeah.
bang on. There's no question about that. All right, the whole mic thing here. Let's move down. Anything else, guys? Let's talk about, there go the futures. We get a first little beak water there as the futures continue to pump up. Let's see if we can get that 16-1. I think Papa Powell really invigorated the market there because since he's been on
That's
the
a
mic.
great word, too.
Yeah, we've been really pumping up here, up and to the right, unabated to the quarterback on the NQ and on the ES here. So it's been a good look so far. Papa not sinking this market today like some people were worried he would, right? Rory Alderson, Sharif, would you mind explaining the names ES, NQ, mini futures, MNQ. I keep hearing all these terms. Is it the same thing? So the NQ and the MNQ are kind of the same, but they're different instruments technically. One is the micro version. So the NQ, every move, I think every BIP is $5, right? Katina man? Yeah, I think so. It's $5, give or take. The MNQ is half that. I think it's $1.25 versus $2.50. $10? I'd never trade the NQ, so I have no idea. Essentially, they're the same thing. Sometimes their levels are a little different. What they are is the futures contract for the NASDAQ 100. Both of them are. One is a little cheaper. It's the micro, which is the MNQ, which is the one you see me on. The NQ, that's the one Arun trades. That's the big one. Each move is much bigger. So every quarter point move, which is what it moves by 0.25s, is much bigger than the MNQ. We're gonna have to wet our beak here at 40s. Oh, baby. Oh. Let's go Tesla. Oh, there we go.
Ooh,
nice. Are you printing on the Katina man? Is long Tesla? I'm assuming
Tesla.
Short. 240. He's short, right? 240 short, baby. A little higher than that, actually. Modest. 40.08. 240.08 on TSLA for the Katina man. So that's what it is. The ES is the futures contract for the S&P 500. The MES is the micro futures contract for the S&P 500. When I talk about RTY, that's the futures contract for the Russell, and that's what I use to gauge that. I don't use IWM. IWM is the ETF for the Russell 2000. So that's more retail oriented, whereas the futures contracts are more institutionally oriented, hence why I keep my eye on that a little bit more. Tony Price, could you take a look at SoFi pivot point action for the day when you get a chance? Sure. John, my God, look at the gap opportunity on TMF, the Treasury.
There's also a super chat here as well addressed to you from Nick W.
Oh, I didn't see
Thank
that.
you for the $5 super chat, Nick W.
Thanks, Nick.
Sharif, can you look at ILMN? I believe that's a small cap. It sounds familiar to me.
ILMN? Illumina. Oh, this is a monster company.
Never mind.
What
am I doing?
No. This is that Dr. Gottlieb guy, the guy that goes on CNBC all the time.
Okay, so I was very incorrect there.
He's on the board of this. I keep hearing about that.
That's cool then.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's have a look. ILMN. Let's see here. All right, so it's an absolute rocket ship today. I'm assuming probably something to do with Pfizer? ILMN, let's see here maybe. I'm looking at my blotter to see if there's a reason why this is moving up. Looks like there's a whole bunch of lawsuit stuff here that usually we see with these companies, but is not of importance. I don't see a reason why it's moving up, but it's absolutely rocketing up today. And the beautiful above that pivot point, it holds above it on the half, and there you go, breaking through all sorts of highs. Now, with respect to where we could find resistance, I'd say that 110 level is interesting, but there's a lot of action in and around here. The high point for this local area group, especially on the month, is at 118 area. Kind of hard to tell where you're going to encounter resistance because there's so many price levels on the way down over here. From the high at 118, then incrementally made lows to about 112, and then I don't know why Huadunct over here is at earnings. Was this earnings? Possibly. Usually when there's a big move down like that, it's earnings. Yeah, not a bad look, Nick Dub. I got to tell you the truth. I'm not sure why it's moving. Maybe because, what's it called, did absolute crap today.
What's it called?
Pfizer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did really poorly. So this one could be a counter sympathy play. But we're knocking on the door of, pardon me?
An antipathy play?
We are, go ahead, Katina man. Okay, the Katina man is going to mic up. And he's going to start spitting. Here we go.
Might check 1, 2, and 2.
I just want to address something here because it's on the minds of the masses. All right. Look at Sharif's face. Is that not a beard? I'm thinking, Sharif, right now, that is very close to a beard. So people still cannot hear. So, all right.
The Katina man is canceling it. All right, guys. He was trying to tell me, he's like, look, this is a beard. Are you growing out a beard? I am not going to grow out the beard, guys. It's just too much work. Katina man ready? Oh, no, he's not ready. Okay. I see no beer, says Abel Gomez. Yeah, guys, sorry about the mic situation. Ram's taking care of it, baby. Oh, they're done. They're not going to do it. They're switching over to a different mic, so hang tight there. Let's see the point I want to make is we're nearing that 50-point area on the future, 16,050. So this could be an interesting resistance area. So be careful with your longs, whether on the future or on some of these large cap names. I'm not saying we're going to pivot off here, but you ready, Katina Man?
Well, I have my original mic on.
He's got the original mic on.
OG mic.
OG mic, baby.
Can everyone hear me now? Or?
Can you bring him in that little Looney Tunes circle thing?
Oh my God, it is. That's all, folks.
We're gonna get demonetized.
All right. No, so what I was trying to get at right now is so you see Sharif, what I'm getting at here is that I think the masses want to know this, and I feel that it's happening in front of our face. I feel like this is a beard. I feel like Sharif has a beard right now, and this is close enough to a beard, I feel like. So I want to say congratulations, Sharif. Thank you for making that decision of growing the beard back. But what does everybody else think? I think this potentially is the most handsome look, kind of that half beard.
The 5 o'clock shadow type thing?
I don't know.
But that's your gimmick. That's your modus operandi. You always have
You steal a lot of my stuff. Do you want to do roll call right now? All right, who's in the building right now? Picky eater. I want to say what's up to you. No, we're all family around here. But no, I just want to say I feel like this could classify as a beard, and I just wanted to see what everybody thought.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
And we will work on the microphone because.
There's two Sharifs.
All right, I'm gone.
All right. Look, I don't know, man. I like the beard. Sometimes I look at my old pictures. I'm like, I want to grow that back. But, man, it's a lot of work. Whew. All right, let's go into the chat. I love the Katina, man. He's going to get everybody riled up here. Michael Wu. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you, man. Michael Storm. Sean can update his moves like this as well to add ideas and lessons. The Katina Man and the Neil's positions will be on permanently throughout the day. It is coming. I can't really disclose to you the format it's going to be coming in. He will. He wants to do it. That's his thing.
Yo.
So.
But I want the Looney Tunes, though. All right. First of all, we have something to celebrate right now. Let's go. Tesla right now, we are short 240.08, and it is now $1 plus in the money as we go. No, there is going to be a second stream, so we're working on it. Brendo's working on it. The tech team is working on it as well. And what's going to wind up happening is hopefully we will be able to get our positions.
You can't hold it so close to you. You're blowing their
Ram is scolding the Katina Man over there.
I apologize for holding the mic too far away or whatever I was doing there. I have to hold it against my chest. Can you hear my heart beating? No, honestly, and I see people in the chat there, people are celebrating this.
Yeah.
That is what we're going to do. So that's why I'm trying to, I don't mean to be rude to the show, but I'm trying to update people with my positions. Like right now we're short Disney, we're short Tesla. One is 30 cents, one is $1. And it's just like during the midday, although Neil and I aren't super active, but if we're going to be sitting here trading, might as well explain and show some of those levels to you. So whether or not there'll be a chat associated with that, we're still working on everything, but we hear you. We are men and women of the people, and we will come back stronger than ever in the new year. Believe that,
Wait,
homie.
Katina Man, tell them that they're going to be able to see the price you got in, the time you got in.
Literally position.
Yeah, you're going to be able to see just much more than, okay, Sean is long Tesla.
Tesla right now for $1.50. Here we go. Can we get it? Can we get it? Ladies and gentlemen, we are bidding 238. Yeah, there, thank you for coming to the screen. We are bidding 238.61. Oh, there's 63. Can we get a 6 deuce? Can we hear 6-1, 6-1, 6-1? And bang, there it is. We get the 238.61 for $1.40 now as we start to spin that one around. Look at this Disney trade. Check out the chart right here. Disney up to 92.80. It's not my show, I understand. 92.80 short. Nice move back into the 50-period moving average. Let's see what happens here. Let's pass it back to Adara and Sharif.
Thanks, Katina Man, for that. Go ahead,
sorry.
Okay, no problem.
I was just saying to Sharif, I love the little cut in there, all the excitement. Lovely time.
So much energy, baby.
Yeah.
Jason, Sharif starting no shave December, and we can still fall. Come on, dude. I can't do that. I tried to grow my hair out instead of my beard, and it just did not go as planned. Egyptian hair has no identity. It doesn't know who it is. It doesn't know if it wants to go wavy, doesn't know if it wants to go straight, curly. It's anything at any one time, and you never know what you're gonna get, baby. Say that again, Ram Ram. Let it live its truth, she said. No, if I did, I'd be kicked off the show. So hideous would I look.
What?
So, looking down over here, Mike, it's all about the bearded George Clooney. Okay, all right, sounds good. Michael Wu, we love Sean's passion. Yes, we do. Picky eater, afro. No, not exactly. Just much less kempt, much less organized. Again, it doesn't have an identity. I mean, maybe one day I'll take a picture of what I look like in the morning, but it's funny. Sharif, could you go over pivot points on PCT? Yes, I will oblige. Let's go ahead and bring in the pivot points chart over here on PCT. PCT is Pure Cycle Technologies, not a company I'm familiar with, but absolutely nicely rocketing up on the day.
I like when a company's ticker makes sense too, right? Like it's Pure Cycle Technologies, PCT. There.
Quickly, this is Pure Cycle, $750 million market cap. What do they do? Patented purification recycling technology developed by Procter & Gamble for restoring water, polypropylene into resin with near virgin characteristics, it says. Okay, cool. With respect to the pivot points, here's what that looks like. And we are much higher than R2. We blew through R1 and R2. We actually, this was a bit bamboozling. Let me go to the 15 because we actually gapped down below the pivot initially on the opening range break. And so, you know what, you didn't, if you had placed your stop, if you had gotten long on this name and you had placed your stop at S1, you didn't get stopped out. So you did well, right? But the bamboozling part was that it was below, it broke below the pivot point. Now, what Ivan was saying in the chat was like, you know, you don't use these ones on sub $5 names. And, you know, this is a sub $5 name, it's $4 and change. So, yeah, decent move. With respect to actual resistance, I think you would have to look to November 17th for that resistance level at 465, 466 or so. That was the high on that day. Let's see what else people are talking about there, baby. Carvania lasagna. Yo, bro, you're hilarious, John.
That's fun.
The Katina man likes that one. John Del Segno, one of Katina boys over there. What do we got here? Tony Price. SoFi pivot point. Sure, let's have a look at SoFi. Here's the look on SoFi. Great day for SoFi today, no question about it. What is it up on the day? I'll tell you in a second. What the hell is it up? 7.82%, blowing through R1 and R2. It's coming into yesterday's R2, which is around that 790 area. Now, one thing I don't know, because I actually haven't practiced using these, is how accurate are the R2 and R1, S1 and S2 from the day prior? Do they still factor in? Are they part of the analysis on the day subsequent? That's one thing that I don't know that I have to look into. As we use, I'm going to be using these daily. There's just no question about that. Now, with respect to actual price action levels, I would say we've just made another higher high here. We made, a higher high on the hourly chart. We broke through that November 15th crest, which took us to about 770 or so. The next higher high we're looking at is definitely that 850 area. That takes us back to November 3rd. So with respect to price action, we broke above a key level here, irrespective of what the pivot points are showing at the moment. So good look, definitely. And look at this. We also had a bit of a double top at that 7 3/4 area. That one we touched November 15th, and we touched again November 29th. So breaking through that double top is very interesting. No doubt about that. So good look for SoFi here. I'll really be excited if we can break above and one of these defined crests over here. That's going to be either 850 or even going back further to October. It's going to be around that 8 3/4 because it's been obviously making lower lows and lower highs since essentially end of September. Look at that. High, lower high, lower high, lower high. And this is finally where we break that trend, making another higher high over here. But we'll see what it does at that point, Adair.
There we go. Yeah, there's a question here. ASDFA. What is a Katina man? I hear it all the time in this show.
It's Sean Katina.
Yes,
it's this guy over here.
I thought I'd have you answer because I know it's your nickname, so I was like, we will give.
There he is, flushing himself down the toilet because Tesla's flushing. I'm assuming that's the whole, look there.
Yeah.
But yes, the Katina man is Sean Katina. The Neil is Neil Roberts. Ram is Ramin. The Chilean Nightmare is Fabian. The Mad One is Max. The Kenobi is Obi. And Brendo, we just call him Brendo, right? And then Adara over here hasn't been anointed with a nickname, but I've been floating around a couple of names here.
Have you?
Yeah. I'm not willing to reveal them quite yet.
Keeping his cards close to the vest.
Oh yeah. But there is a name floating around in this head over here for my friend Adara. Right now we're just saying your girl Adara, but that's not good enough. We need something like Day Day or poor girl. She's like, what the?
I think we day trade. That's like the one thing I'm like, Day Day.
Did you have one with your friends?
I did. I've always given.
No, I did not. I did not. I was
So
Adara.
the Katina man just asked Adara if she had a nickname in high school, and she said she did. She didn't. So
that I can remember.
Do your parents have a nickname for you that you're willing to reveal on air?
It's just Adara or it's Dara.
Dara.
Sometimes we'll take off the A. Nothing too. Yeah, I've never really had a nickname, I guess.
No way. Okay.
Yeah, interesting time.
I like Day Day, says Tori Sherman. Okay. That's kind of like a little playoff Ram.
Also, Jay Haas's I enjoy 21 LePage.
20.
Which I think has to be a reference to the amount of 21 Savage references I make on a daily basis.
Hold on. Nania Biz came up with a really good one. Schwoopy. Instead of schmoopy, okay, you don't know Seinfeld. So anyone who knows Seinfeld knows schmoopy is a name because Jerry was calling his girlfriend schmoopy until he pissed off George and Elaine to no end. And so schwoopy could absolutely be a name. None of you biz, you genius, you.
I will take it. I would take Schwoopy.
Schwoopy is a really good one. I'm going to have to actually really contemplate that, Dara.
Contemplate, yeah. But yeah, no, I think also in the chat, I believe it was Nunya Biz saying like that, something to the effect of, we need Eli Lilly to wake up, something to that effect. I agree. Eli Lilly is asleep. Maybe it took too many of its own medications. No, I'm joking. But I got in here, teeny tiny little baby fill. I didn't take that many shares to begin with, and then I only got partial filled. But yeah, so we're gonna pass that over now, though.
You can do it this time around.
Oh, I can do it this time. Okay.
Oh,
perfect.
I'll show it up on my chart.
Yes.
And then you can go through it. So Ram, Adira is gonna talk, and we're gonna show my chart.
So we are gonna talk about pivot points. So what is a pivot point? It is a technical analysis indicator or calculations basically used to determine the overall trend of the market over different time frames. So the pivot point is basically this average of the intraday high and low, and then also the closing price of the previous day. So you have three numbers, you're dividing it by three, these calculations, intraday high, intraday low, your close for the previous day, and then on the subsequent day, you're gonna trade above the pivot point. If you trade above the pivot point on the next day, so after you have your high from that day, your low from that day, and the close, if you trade above it's going to be considered a more bullish sentiment. If you trade below, it is considered to be more bearish. So the pivot point is the basis for the indicator, but it also includes other support and resistance levels. It's like a whole ecosystem of little levels that you can use for your trading. And it based on the pivot point calculation. And all these levels help traders to see where the price could experience support or resistance. If the price moves through the levels, it helps the traders know that the price is trending in that direction. So if we trade above the pivot point and in between these different support and resistance levels, then you kind of get more of a sense here. What do pivot points tell you? So they're an intraday indicator for trading futures, commodities, stocks, so anything, I guess, basically more or less. Unlike moving averages or oscillators, they are static, and they are also lagging, like all the indicators we talk about here. This means that traders can use the levels to help plan out their trading in advance. So, for example, if a trader knows that the price falls below the pivot point, they're going to be short. early in the session, right? But also, if the price is above the pivot point, they might want to buy. And then you have 2 support levels, S1 and S2, 2 resistance levels, R1 and R2. And they can be used as target prices for trades, as well as stop loss levels or profit-taking, beak wetting levels, we were saying
there you
too,
go.
right? You can really, I mean, like, there's no specific science. It's an art, right? Not a science.
Absolutely.
You want to use indicators in different ways. Like, for example, you want to set your little stack your profit takers based on support or resistance. That's very much, something you could do as well. And combining pivot points with other trend indicators is a common practice with traders. And as we were saying too, like with every indicator system, you don't really just want to use one, right? You want to take a couple samples, take a little nibbles.
There you go.
Make sure that you have confirmation of the trend before you hop into the trade there. And a pivot point that also overlaps or converges with a 50 period or 20 period MA, moving average, or a Fibonacci extension will become a stronger support or resistance level. That being said, though, like I was saying, I think if you have like confluence or conversion with any
Oh, wrong one. My bad.
with any other level of interest there, I think it shall be of interest. Yeah, so pivot points with Fibonacci. So pivot points and Fibonacci retracements or extensions both draw horizontal lines to mark potential support and resistance areas. The Fibonacci indicator is useful because it can be drawn between any 2 significant price points, such as a high and a low. And it will then create the levels between those 2 points.
There you go.
Fibonacci retracement and extensions levels can thus be created by connecting any price points on a chart. Once the levels are chosen, lines are drawn at percentages of the price range selected. Pivot points, in contrast, do not use percentages, and they're based on fixed set numbers. So you got the high, the low, and the close of the day. And these are all levels that we talk about a lot in trading anyway, right? Like I know we were saying earlier, Sharif loves the previous day close.
Absolutely.
So this indicator is really interesting because it already has the previous day close baked into it, like a little filling in a donut or something. But obviously, like all indicators, it does have some limitations.
Yes, ma'am.
They are based on a simple calculation, and they may work for some traders, but others might not find them useful. Like we said, it takes time to figure out what indicators you like to trade with, what your trading style is, and I think that quite definitely is the case with pivot points, especially there's a lot of info up there on the screen, right?
Bang.
So it might not be for everybody. And there's no assurance that the price will stop, reverse, or even reach the levels that are listed on the chart. Other times the price will move back and forth through a level, like, ping-ponging, flat channel between the levels. That could very much exist. As with all indicators, it should only be used as part of a complete trading plan. Also, shout out to Brad Thompson in the chat. The closing pivot is necessary in all caps to have. Interesting time.
Bang on, bang on. Thank you very much for that, Adara. All right, let's have a look at some of these pivots in practice. Now, this is a chart on BABA. And, this was completely accidental of me today to load up BABA and to see how well it traded off pivots. And this is not something that I'm advocating for, saying BABA respects these more than others. This is my first foray into this, and we're going to report back to you about how successful this is. But look at starting on Wednesday. We gap below the pivot from yesterday. So automatically, we're looking short, okay? Because that's one of the rules. You open up, or you gap down on the open below the pivot, you should be looking short. And then you can have price targets at S1 and S2. On my chart, the dark purple line, that's S1. The green line, that's S2. Support 1, support 2. That's what they stand for. And they're calculated based upon the math derived from the calculation of the pivot, okay? That's what you need to know about that. So we gap down, and then look where we find resistance. We find resistance at S1, but we have support, absolute support. Look at this, beautiful. Even on the opening range break, that S2 line held all day, even into the aftermarket. The next day, we gap down below the pivot, so you should be looking short. Sure, we get above it, but look what happens. We move right back down again, and then we start trending. We start, consolidating, not trending, the opposite actually, between pivot and S1. You feel almost like an upward or downward channel. When we talked about channels in a previous lesson, we said when we're channeling, ideally what you're trying to do is get long low and get out near the top of the channel. Bottom of the channel, long, top of the channel, out. This is a horizontal channel that is defined by the pivot and S1. So S1 holds real well, pivot holds real well. Then today we open below the pivot, and look at this. Now we break below S2, kind of an outlying day. And that's to be expected, that we have an outlying day on BABA where, you know, it's not holding these levels to a T, because we did get that big downgrade. Who was it, Morgan Stanley?
Morgan Stanley.
Morgan Stanley,
Morgan
right?
Stanley with all the Chinese ADRs today.
Morgan Stanley with some commentary on BABA, you know, therefore adding that kind of wild card to it. So it ends up doing its thing around there. So we'll have a look in the subsequent days to see what kind of action we're getting using these using this indicator. But it's one that I quite frankly I really like so far. Let's see what people are talking about here. M. Allen, thinking you guys should pre-record this with some nice graphics, maybe at the green screen, then touch on it after the video, then use the other half to show the trades. Just for just a suggestion. Thank you for that suggestion. We're always open to new ideas, never closed off here, whether we implement it or not, maybe have to do with the logistics of what we can do, but thank you for that, M. Allen. Appreciate that. Keeping an eye here on the chat. Any questions for what Adero was talking about just now? With respect to pivots, let's try to keep it on topic, and we'll try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. Chef Joe, Sharif, what do you think about Upstart right now going into next week? Upstart's been interesting. You know, we haven't heard too much about it. What we've been hearing more about lately has been Affirm. No question about that. This is a look at Upstart.
Start up.
There we go. Joker. Daily chart, please. Okay, daily. Look at this. Tough. Okay, well, I got to take this off because yeah, that's the, when you look at the pivot points on the daily, it distorts it, so you got to take it off.
Better, yeah.
Yeah. So we take it off, and then we go. We can see it a lot better there. We're at a critical level here on Upstart. This is the crest that we made early in the month. I believe it was between the 6th and the 7th, right there, where we kind of topped out right where we are here. In fact, that 3150 area. We make another high above here. That's going to be interesting. Then we're going to start looking at 35 bucks in the face, because that's where we have the top end of this consolidative area over here. So good look on Upstart. Again, I haven't heard anything specific to the company. We've been hearing a lot more about Affirm and maybe even Square because of its association with crypto than we have been on Upstart. But as you'll see, look what happened to Upstart over here after earnings. It was an absolute disaster, right? We got up into that 72.5, and then we tanked all the way, giving up more than 50% of the value. Yeah, below 35, Adera. And it's been making lower highs since. But if we break this crest over here, that may be a trend change. But guys, be careful, because this could be a consolidative trend, right? Like, we're not really breaking out too aggressively from any areas. Just because it makes another higher high over here doesn't mean we're automatically going to trend. So wait a little bit. But good luck. Good luck here on UPST, getting a decent day finally. Jeez Louise, it's been bad for UPST.
Yeah, they're finally trying to move up.
Yeah, absolutely. Ruksana, sorry, Tanweer. Hi, Sharif. What price should I go long for Tesla today? I already have some at 243. I would never tell you what price to go long. And I don't know whether you're intraday trading or you're holding long term. Tag me, let me know. If you are long term this stock, I can merely make suggestions about, you know, the fundamentals of the company and some of the things you need to know about in order to make a decision. With respect to an intraday trade, I can show you what levels I see, but you know, never listen to what I do. You got to trade your own book. If you're trading. Sounds like you're investing, because you have some at 243 and we've been really much below that today. But tag me again, Ruxana. Make sure to tag me, so it's at, and then type in CHE, and then you'll see my name populate there. Thank you for that. Yeah, right? Looking down a little bit here. Just looking for any tags.
Not there, I doubt.
Yeah, I mean, just some people don't tag me, but they've got good questions. Henry Chow, how do we get the pivot point indicator? It's got to be available on your software. If it isn't, you may want to subscribe to a program like Trade Ideas, and you can get 25% off by using Benzinga. By using the Trader TV code. They'll give that to you in a second there. There it is right there. Thank you for that, Ram. Trade Ideas, 25% off by using the Trader TV 25 code right there. And they've got pivot points. Other ones like TradingView also have it as well. But Trade Ideas, a great program used by everybody on the show, by the way.
Yeah. Also, though,
Yeah.
another thing used by everyone on this show, and Shrieve's always saying I use it a lot, is Benzinga, who is also one of our sponsors. So huge thank you, shout out to Benzinga. You can just use the link in the description for Benzinga's greatest deal of the year, including 75% off Benzinga Pro. Monthly subscriptions now as low as $49.25. And, you know, we've got Fed Chair Powell up here living his life, doing his thing, 21. He'll be back talking again at 2.
Yep.
You can get all the details on Benzinga, so that's something to keep in mind as well. And yeah, everything terminal for retail traders. You just have to visit pro.benzinga.com and use the coupon code TTVNOV. Let's see if this is still, TTVNOV to save 75% off now. New subscribers only, and conditions do apply. And yeah, you can find out what Fed Chair Powell is doing right as he is doing it. There we go, Benzinga. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for that, Adara. DVD. How about them Cowboys? Although Bland was getting barbecue chicken all night, yeah, he did not have a good game against DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf's an absolute monster of an individual. So yeah, he was showing out last night. And the thing is, I was telling Neil before the game, I'm like, DK Metcalf's gonna have a good game. The thing is, man, there were so many missed plays. They were blitzing at the wrong time, causing man-to-man in the secondary, and that's not what you want with a big boy like Metcalf. You don't want him one-on-one on a smaller DB. You're gonna need to double that bad boy up, and because they were blitzing and they kept so much pressure on the line, I didn't really like the defensive play calling all night. I even had my suspicions with the offensive play calling. I don't think it was the best game for Mike McCarthy, who was calling the plays ever since Kellen Moore's left. So the boring man, is pivot point basically midpoint of support and resistance? You could look at it that way, but it's not just that. It is based on the mathematical formula. It's the high, the low, and the close. Now, the close could be anywhere in between the high and the low. So to say that it's going to be the midpoint is kind of a bit of a misnomer, right? Because you could have a high, you could have a closing print much nearer the highs or a closing print much nearer to the lows, and that skews the formula, obviously, in one direction or another. So it's a good way to kind of try to visualize it, but that's not exactly it. Victor Hoffman, Shreeve, can you talk about the different types of pivot points offered on TradingView? I showed Traditions, Fibonacci, Woody Classics, DM, and Camarilla. What are the differences? I have no idea. I'm assuming those are different authors of, the types of pivot points. Maybe they change one aspect of it or another. I personally have never used them on TradingView. I don't have a TradingView premium subscription, just a free account. What I do have is Trade Ideas, and that's who we use around here. So I don't know if you wanted to look into that or not. When you do get a Trade Ideas account, you reach out to the NOS boss, whether via Twitter or what have you, and he takes care of you personally there. Sometimes people have actually reached out to him directly and said, hey, Trade Ideas doesn't have this indicator or that indicator. Do you guys mind throwing that on? And they actually do it for specific individuals, which is available to everybody after that. But none of your biz, Cowboys but to get stampeded by the Buffalo Bills. I'm sure Neil would agree with you on that. I don't know how I feel about that, though.
Oh,
there he is. There's my
love that
man.
animate.
There's my man. Look at him. All blue lenses and all. B. Leach, aren't those the blue light lenses? Yeah, leave me alone, Ram. First time I actually liked what I saw from Dak, says B. Leach. Yeah, Dak was really keeping him in the game. I got to tell you the truth. Dak showed out yesterday. Last 6 games, it's been 22 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions. So it's been really good for Dak lately. My issue with the offense yesterday was the play calling, not Dak. I think Tony Pollard's still continuing to struggle a little bit with his speed, especially on the outside. But we'll have to see how that ends up working out, baby. Alex Davis, do you mind checking out SPY 5-minute chart? Is the candle at 459.50 a shooting star candle supposed to indicate a trend reversal? Let's have a look at the SPY. And what time frame was he saying? 5. Okay.
I like the specificity. We like time frames.
Yeah, that's
in
cool.
this episode.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
SPY, let's look at the SPY. On the 5. No, that's just, look, I see what you're saying. I wouldn't put too much emphasis into one candle. When
Sorry,
you have
what is a shooting star candle?
It's a reversal candle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the opposite of a hammer candle.
Oh, I see. Okay, the hammer candle, I do know.
Yeah, where the body is much nearer the lower wick versus
Okay.
the closing to the upper wick area. When you have a big move like this, and essentially it's been pumping up since Papa Powell got on the mic, and it seemed to have de-spooked the market. A 10-minute pullback, or sorry, a 20-minute pullback on the 5 after a several-hour move up is not unheard of. So I wouldn't jump the gun. And again, intraday, don't put too much emphasis into one 5-minute candle. And if you're going to want to use candlestick patterns, look for confluence between different time frames. It's called multi-time frame confirmation, especially if you're going to use the candlestick patterns, okay? Because there's a lot of noise on a smaller time frame like the 5 or the 1 or the 3. Adair likes the 3. Obi likes the 15. Obviously, the longer the time frame, the less bamboozlement typically there is on that. So I don't know, Alex. I feel like we trend up. We'll see. It's the first of the month. Let's see if it's going to be a decadent December, as my man Neil generated this morning. There he is. A decadent December, Neil wants to call it. If we have a good December, if we have a bad one, we're going to have to find a different name.
It'll be a disappointing December or a decimating December.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
We'll be decimated by the markets.
There you go. Daryl Finch, when Dak McCarthy decide to give him the ball, Cowboys do better, in my opinion. Okay. Thanks for that. Zion Lala, the loser between you and the Neil, has to wear the other team's jersey. Oh,
I like
Neil. I'll bring you Micah Parsons.
I can bring my Josh Allen.
And you can I'll wear your Josh Allen. Obviously, we don't want to do it while working out because we don't want to sweat in each other's clothing, needless to say, right? But yeah, I will do that. And I'll wear it at the big desk too, pending Brendo's approval. But yeah, well, I'll do it. I'm wearing it at the big desk. The Katina man has made the decision. It's a firm decision. Come on, Neil. You don't know where that's from? Neil doesn't get it. He gets it. He gets it, but he's not listening. It's a firm decision. You don't know where that's from? Chappelle stand-up with the monkey. It's a firm decision.
My wife and I are trying to figure
My bad. Neil's making dinner plans. I didn't mean to interrupt. BlackBerry, if you use this pivot, S1 or S2 for stops, would you add some percentages, spaces away for your stops to keep it tight? Yes, I would. I agree with that 100%. Again, like Adara's been saying for a while, it's not a science, it's an art. That means it may not reject off that level exactly. I'm talking about S1, S2, R1, R2, or any level for that matter, whether moving averages or VWAP or the closing price or key support or resistance level. Give it some room. I mean, especially if you can afford to give it some room. And that giving it some room can be incorporated into part of your R&R strategy, because like for example, if the support level that you need to get out of, where you're going to place your stop, is $450, don't do your R&R calculation based off 450. Do it off 459.50. Just an example. So incorporate that space into your R&R. Hog Rider, could you look at Tesla? It's been making higher highs and higher lows, but red on the day. So the trend is to the upside regardless if it's red. Look, it's been knocking on the door of going green for a while, but it's been rejecting off that level. Like, here's what I'm talking about. This is why the Katina man got short at that level. It's no surprise, because it came into yesterday's close. And we know that if it was red on the day, it's likely going to find resistance at the previous day's close. That's just the way it goes. And look what it did when it got into 240. Rejected immediately. So despite the fact the NQ is up 0.2 and the ES is up 0.5% and Tesla is down 0.5%. So it looks like yesterday was a sell the news. The point is, even though we did make a nice move back up since Papa Powell got on the mic and the market started trending, it is still a counter trend trade to take this long. So what I would say to you is wait until there's a decisive 240 break and close, and it starts to really go above that 240 level, not just wick into it before you get long here, or some other level that is of interest to you. But if you're talking about the 240 level, that's how I'd play it. Moving down on the chat. ASD, ASFS, it looks like they just typed on the keyboard. Sharif, how do you find stocks to trade? What do you look for? We're going to have an entire section on that about finding...
finding stocks, watch list, figuring out, scouring the market and deciding what you want to trade. I'm so sorry for that weird action there.
That's okay.
Because the thing is, everyone's going to have their own strategy. Everyone has different stocks they trade. Like you and I are very rarely trading the same day.
No, rarely, yeah.
Sometimes we are, but it's very rare. But yeah, so I think everyone, and in the chat here, you see so many different people mention all these different stocks. And I think that's because the beauty of trading is everyone's going to have their own strategy. And I think a lot of strategy is dependent on what stock you trade because different stocks move differently. So I am very, as you can tell, getting way ahead of myself, very excited for an impending stock pick decision week.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, so we're going to have an entire week where we're basically just showing you how we populate the stocks that we're going to trade on the day.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of it has to do with the watch list that Adara writes every day. A lot of it has to do with, the big catalysts in the news that are causing something to move. But it's also having a very thorough watch list ready to go with names that you are always watching. It's also important for small cap traders to have a scanner, and that's what I've got. We're going to be talking about all that and much more, trust me, in the coming weeks. We're going to be spending an entire week on how to find stocks.
Yeah, super excited about that. I also have another question actually about pivot points as well.
Go.
So I guess not really a question, but is it significant if you're trading in between two support or in between the two resistance levels?
I think it's going to be dependent really on...
Yeah, I guess I know it's hard because a lot of these, like you said, it's not a science, so there's a lot of these don't have.
We're going to have to see. I think we're going to have to actually look. Is there a channel that's being created here by the pivot points by S1, R1, R2, R1, R2, S1, S2, or not? I mean, there was a stock that here. This is an interesting one over here. Here's the SPY. Look at what the SPY was doing over here. Clearly, between S2 and the pivot point ranged literally all day. We need to let it develop to see what levels it's respecting on the day. Like everything else, we don't use VWAP blindly because it's VWAP. We don't use S2 as the end all and be all as support levels until it's respected by the price action. Yeah,
okay.
We need proof that that level is going to be respected. But look how many times it bounced off the S2 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in one day, and equal amount of times off the pivot on that day. So clearly these were important levels on that day. Today, not so much.
Okay. Yeah.
But even though, look at this, R2 being respected here, S1 being respected much in the same way on those days. So allow it to develop, allow the equity to show you, no, this is an important level that you're trading at instead of just guessing. With respect to my futures trade, if this breaks below this point over here, 15,980, that's going to be the end of my trade. Already got 3 nice outs over here into the 16,050, but now I'm adding in front of 16,000. If it makes a new low, if it breaks this, that's the end of the trade over here, guys, on the future. Looking here for some questions, guys. Anything you gotta know? We talked about indicators all week, Dara and I. We talked about moving average indicators. If you would like to know anything with respect to those moving average indicators, put them in the chart in the chat now, and Dara and I will do our darndest to answer them for you.
Yes.
It's Friday. Obviously, we got trading psychology.
I'm
starting
so
next
excited
week.
for next
Yeah.
week to get. We're gonna sit in. We're gonna switch out the professor chair for the psychology chair. No,
I like that.
I'm joking. Maybe I don't know.
Swoopy's coming up with all sorts of jokes today.
Oh, are we testing it?
It's over.
It's over. It's done?
over.
Okay.
It's Swoopy.
Okay.
You gotta allow it though.
I can
can't
allow
force
it.
you
No,
something
I just
onto
wasn't
you.
because you said
Yeah.
you were still ruminating, so I was.
Yeah, well, it's too good. You're the one
It is
that did
good.
this to yourself, Adara, right? You did this to yourself by saying swoop. And then the chat, you know, they're intelligent
The
people.
chat decided
Yeah.
it's official. People agree. Okay, swoopy. Let's do it.
Swoopy it is. Adara has been anointed with a nickname. We have made it official. Now it is Swoopy for Adara. The Katina man is displeased. It feels every bit of a Friday today, I gotta tell you the truth. But I wanna show you guys the book that if you guys wanna start reading up in anticipation of next week's trading psychology, this is the book. It's called
Homework.
Trading in the Zone by, what's his name, Mark Douglas. Ram? This is the book, guys. Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas over here. This is kind of known as the Trading Psychology Bible. It's one of those ones where I feel you need to like read multiple times in order to really internalize and understand all the principles he's talking about. He really draws a lot of parallels between, he really does draw a lot of parallels between, people who are successful in dangerous endeavors and day traders. They seem to have similar mentalities where they trade in the zone. He talks about the confidence and all these other things. If you want to get a jump on things, that's the book that I recommend. It's not a long read by any means either. It's it's not that long. What is the page count? Usually Amazon here has the page count. Where do I look for that? The Katina man knows. It's on his phone. He's gonna look there for us for a sec. So yeah, that's the book that I would say get a jump on it, guys. Anthony F. Trading in the Zone is one of my favorite books, a classic. Yeah, I gotta agree with you, man. To be quite honest with you. The Good Store. Sharif Adira, do you mind looking at what? UK Brent. Oh, Brent crude. Chart 15-minute. I gotta tell you, I don't even have Brent on my chart. On my watch list. I only watch West Texas Intermediate (WTI). So I don't even know how to pull up Brent on my platform. To be quite honest with you, I'm gonna try for you in a second once I send to Adara. John Sharif, the most charismatic trader in the world, man. I'm moving apartments in Manhattan, and it sucks, but you're making me laugh like crazy. Shout out to you, John. Manhattan must be a hell of a place to live over there. Ram's very excited. I think she likes Manhattan. Shout out to you, John. Hope you have a good day moving. I hope the weather holds out over there because right here or in Toronto, it's rainy and apparently it's supposed to switch to snow. Is it snowing today, guys? Is it going to snow later in the day? No, the Katina man says it's only going to rain. So we shall have a see about that. Off-grid whips. You want to have a look at Carvana for off-grid whips?
Carvana, CVNA. Okay, yeah, I mean, upward channel, upward channel, upward channel. This is beautiful. We have a nice little spread on this. It's not too large. We know how I feel about spreads here. Yeah, we honestly, like, lots of dip opportunities. Like I said, I always get a skosh nervous when we're looking at stocks that are kind of dancing around high of day or low of day because I don't really have a nice range in which to jump around here. Jump around. But yeah, let's look up news on Carvana. Thank you for getting what I was going to get there. But yeah, Carvana, okay, reiterates underperform, maintains $24 price target from RBC. Wedbush reiterates neutral and maintains a $40 price target. So basically with Carvana is we had two not great ratings reiterated with the same price target. Not super a catalyst, but you know, we're moving to the upside. Apparently it's down. I mean, like when I say down, I mean like the market is down for these ratings. But yeah, John Del Segno, Carvana obeys no rules. Ask the bad one.
I know, right?
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, it's a good look. I have to say it's a good look. As long as you don't see a lower low, it looks like a long for my personal taste. That's
all
what I
right.
think.
Okay, going back here because there were some tags. Ivan, snow up here in North York, Markham right now. Okay, so not a good look in North York. That's where I live. No. Calm down there, Sean.
I enjoyed that.
It is Midtown, by the way.
I looked it up, by the way. Midtown on Wikipedia stops at Lawrence.
At Lawrence, okay, sorry. I'm like about a kilometer north of there, so I am no longer considered Midtown. I'm an uptown boy. All right, thank you, Ivan, for spreading the bad news about the snow. We have snow in Hamburg, says Blackberry. Okay. Obviously, you know, a little bit of a different location in the world, but yeah, Hamburg also, you know, a little bit on the north end of things. Guntbeg.
Here's the weather for Toronto.
Here is, I've been past the Katina man's phone, and the weather for Toronto is as follows. Today, we got a high of 9, but it's raining. Saturday and Sunday, we have a high of 5 and 4, and guess what? It's raining both days. Monday is cloudy with a high of 3, and we're talking about Celsius, guys. Tuesday, we have 2 degrees and raining. Wednesday, we have 1 degree and partly sunny, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all between 3 and 4 degrees and cloudy. It feels like England up in this place.
Yeah,
there
it
we
does.
go.
It
Yeah.
actually is like I've not been to England, but I know there's like the
yeah.
the little weather. Oh, hi. Sorry.
Hey, what's up?
Dun, 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 dun,
No, I just was
dun,
coming
dun,
back in
dun,
here to
dun.
do something like this.
What are you printing on? Tell the people what you're printing on.
Slow down, Sharif. Yeah, right there. Oh, what is that?
Oh, that's
What is
pretty
going
cool.
on?
That's pretty cool.
No, Tesla. I just want to bring that to everyone's attention because we are now almost $2 and change in the money off of. Nice
Enough to get out of this trade if it breaks below here.
off of that 240 level. That's all. I just want to talk about that. And then there it is. So just look at all these shorts. It's like a carnival up in here. There we go back into the downside. So I just want to talk to that to everybody. We did take a last piece out there. There was some chatter in the chat about what I was doing with Tesla. So I wanted to step in and tell you guys. The other position that we have on is Disney right here. And then a potential position that the bad guy, which is me, thinking about right here is 39 short on DraftKings. And again, if you can see this level as resistance, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, whether or not you want to take it or not, this is the kind of trading that I try to do. DraftKings is up today. I just wanted to show a nice little level of support and resistance. Someone in the chat was asking about DraftKings, and DraftKings today up 1.6%. So for me, I'm going to stay away, especially now that we're starting to trend back into VWAP. But I kind of think that if we can bounce off 38.75 right here, we can possibly retest this high once again. So back to the weatherman.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Katina man. Yeah, thanks, Diamond Realty of Miami. 80 degrees here. Yes,
That's
yes.
not very nice.
Yeah, well, Miami's Miami. I mean, we
I
can't
know
really...
it's not Diamond Realty's fault that they.
But that he is an OG, by the way. He's an OG of the chat. A long time viewer,
I've
Diamond
heard a
Realty.
lot of
Man.
comments.
Yeah, shout out him. The Piper. Hey, Sharif, you stole our weather. I don't know. Where are you from? Oh, I'm assuming he's English. Okay, yes, yes. I've had my fair share of English weather as I lived there for a couple of years, and it's, yeah, it's nice. It's nice. What I did like about English weather, though, was November, late November, early December, or maybe almost all of December. I went home for Christmas, so I didn't really get to see the latter half of December. Was really windy and rainy. And for a guy who didn't have a car when he was living there, it was obviously very tough. But when I came back, February, which is notoriously cold in Toronto, was actually really nice in England. It was sunny, and there was like double digits sometimes, 11, 12. You wouldn't have any of that here in England, I mean in Canada. February is freezing in Toronto. I don't know anywhere else in North America, but February is the month that I dislike the most. Shout out to anybody born in February, sorry.
Aquarius season.
Yeah, it is, and Pisces.
And Pisces.
Both, yeah.
Sorry to the
depending
Pisces.
on where,
Pisces
where you
party.
were. Yeah. Okay, guys. Let's get back into some business here. Should we review it one more time?
Yeah.
Pivot points. You want me? Should I do it?
I
Or
can
you
do
like,
it. Yeah.
You want to do it?
That is
Okay.
Fine.
Let me bring in the pivot points chart.
Thank you.
And then we can kind of put that up on there while you have a discussion.
Yeah. So what are we talking about? A pivot point is technical analysis indicator, as we've been doing all week. But
Ram,
this one is
Ram,
more of
come
a
to the chart.
calculation, and it uses it's used to determine the overall trend of a market over different time frames. The pivot point itself is simply the average of the intraday high and the intraday low and the closing price from the previous day. So then on the next day, trading above the pivot point is thought to be a more bullish sentiment, but then if you're trading below the pivot point, it's more bearish. So basically, pivot point is kind of a neutral area that you can use as an indicator for your trading in the middle. It's the basis for the indicator, but it also includes support and resistance levels. So it's like little helping hands. It's a whole ecosystem, as I said earlier, of an indicator, which is really fun. So yeah, you have the support resistance levels projected based on the pivot point calculation. So all of these levels help traders see where the price could experience support or resistance. And if the price moves through these levels, it lets traders know the price is trending in that direction. You can also use the support and resistance areas for stop loss. You can use them as profit takers. There are lots of uses for them, which is really cool. And what do pivot points actually tell you? They're basically an intraday indicator for trading futures, commodities, stocks, what have you. And unlike moving averages or oscillators, they actually are static and they remain at the same price throughout the day. They're also lagging, like all the indicators are talking about, right? But basically this means that traders can use the levels to help plan the trading in advance, because unlike VWAP, unlike an MA or an EMA, it's not gonna move. So you can literally, it's like you're charting with VWAP and then VWAP moves on you, right? I mean, with this, saying it's valid, right? Because not all indicators are going to be valid for all stocks at all times at all days. But if, for example, you do have the pivot points working for you, they're not going to move because they do stay in one place. But yeah, so they can, and then like we were saying, the support and resistance levels can be used as target prices for trades as well as stop loss levels. You have 2 support levels and 2 resistance levels in every pivot point ecosystem. And yeah, so if the price falls below the pivot point, they can probably short. If the price falls above the pivot point, they can go long. And then combining pivot point with other trend indicators is common practice for traders. But with all trades, like we're saying, right, like with all indicators, you want to kind of give it a nice little balance, right? Maybe marry them with a couple other indicators. Switch it up here. What else is happening? Yeah, so pivot point that overlaps or converges with especially a 50 period or 20 period moving average or a Fibonacci extension level becomes a more important support or resistance level. So let's talk a little bit more about a pivot and Fibonacci relationship. So pivot points and Fibonacci retracements or extensions, they both draw horizontal lines to mark potential support resistance areas. The Fibonacci indicator is useful because it can be drawn between any 2 significant price points, like a high or a low. And then it will then create levels between those 2 points. Fibonacci retracement and extensions can thus be created by connecting any price points on a chart. Once the levels are chosen, lines are drawn at percentages of the price range selected. But pivot points, in contrast to Fibonacci, they don't actually use percentages, and they're more based on set fixed numbers. And as we said, those numbers are the high, the low, and the close of the prior day. Like all indicators, they do have limitations. They're based on a simple calculation, and they do work for some people, but others might not find them useful. And I think a lot of that is the more you trade, especially as someone who's very new to using pivot points. Shout out to Lincoln in the chat. I personally do not use pivot points because they are not available on PPRO8. But I'd like to learn a little bit more about them because I love math, and I think the math aspect of it is pretty cool. But again, with all indicators, they're not going to work for every trade, right? So I can say I'd like to look at them, but that doesn't mean like blanket, for everything it's going to be useful. VWAP's not going to be, playing a factor in every trade, right? It really depends on the indicator and the time of the day sometimes too, right? Because it might be more valid. Earlier in the session, we were talking about this earlier. Some of these might be more valid depending on where we open or close,
there you go.
Go higher or lower. And there's no assurance that the price will stop, reverse at, or even reach the levels that are charted here, right? And other times the price will move back and forth through a level. So maybe have a flat channel, let's say,
there you go,
between 2 support levels and between 2 resistance levels. And as with all indicators, it should only be used as part of a complete trading plan. There's a question here in the chat.
Go for it.
About is there a specific time frame that they work better on?
See, that's the thing. You can view, they're the same levels irrespective of what time frame you have on. What I want to be able to see is I want to compare it to yesterday. So I need a wide enough time frame so that when I'm looking at my chart, it's showing me a little bit about what happened yesterday. So you can have it intraday. You just need to be able to see it. So for example, on Shopify, come to the chart. If I go to the 1 minute, right, it kind of, so I have to adjust this. So what I do is go like that, and then I go down to here, and I go Ignore studies. There we go. So what happens is, if I'm looking at the 1 minute on this chart, all I see is the pivot point, because above the price action is the resistance level, and below the price action is support. So I need a wide enough time frame in order to be able to view all this, right? And that's why I look at like something like the 15, something like the half an hour, because I kind of want to be able to see the whole thing. But that doesn't prevent you from looking only at the one. Doesn't make a difference. It's not like a moving average where the 5 minute moving average is different than the 1 minute moving average. The calculus is still the same, irrespective of the time frame in which you're looking at it from. So that's a good question there.
I have a question as well, like for
Go.
myself. So,
Yeah.
you know, we were talking yesterday about how you could maybe use like the envelopes or the 4-week rule for stuff like the SPY or the NASDAQ. Would you be able to use something like that with pivot points to get a sense of the
It'd be
market?
interesting.
Or
So,
would it not be as effective?
I don't know. I don't know if it would be, because what we're really using pivot points for is intraday
Yeah,
trading.
that's why I wasn't sure. I was just kind of curious to see if that was something that had.
I don't think there's any direct conflict. I just don't think it would make much sense,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Because we already have the defined price action on the daily chart. We know where the support and resistance is on the daily chart. The point is, we don't really know what to expect on any one day, and therefore these pivot points give us a different look. When we were talking about the 4-week rule yesterday, that you have to allow this to really develop
That is
minimum
true,
of
yeah.
4 weeks.
And that makes
right?
more sense when you're thinking something like that as like an index, like the SPY
Yeah.
or the NASDAQ. Thank you. I
Very
appreciate
good
that.
question. No, I do agree. Thanks for that, Shwoopy. So we're going to continue on. The Katina man, he doesn't like it. But look, she's been anointed. Once someone gets anointed, it's over at that point, Katina man. I'm sorry, bro. Here we go. I like this question, says Blackberry. Yeah, it's a good question. No
Cute,
question
yeah.
about that.
No question about that. Is that on purpose?
No, I didn't actually mean that on
You
purpose.
think I'm not going to notice something like that?
Yeah, I know. True, true. Sharif Adera, do you think we will see a Santa rally in the market? That is a great question.
We don't know.
Will it be a decadent December or a decimating December? We will have to find out. Yes, Bigfoot Powell is speaking at 2 o'clock. He's already spoke today. It looks as if what he said really helped buoy the markets up off the lows. We were at 15,864 at one point in the day. That was the low, and then we really trended aggressively, made a 16,050 touch, and now we're doing the dance with no pants at 16, just a little bit above yesterday's close. By the way, yesterday's close is 15,985. We bounced off that level directly, and now we're back into 16, but we're really going to have to decide what we're going to have to do here. About 10 minutes left on the show before we bring you over to the big kahunas, and they're going to take you into Power Hour. The Katina man has been involved in the short on Tesla. Neil, any positions that we can update anybody on? Neil just got covered on the Uber long. He was taking that one along on the day as we were kind of wondering whether or not that was going to be added to the S&P 500. It could come in at any time. We really don't know. And so when you usually get a catalyst like that, it helps really propel the stock up, Adara. Raphael, ask Trader TV, Magic 8 Ball. Oh, all-knowing 8 Ball. Is Shwoopy...
I thought it was about I think it was about the rally. I thought that was about the rally.
Is Shwoopy an appropriate name for Adara?
I thought the question was about the rally.
Hold on, here we go. I can't read what this thing says. It's all bubbly. I don't know what it says, Adara. This thing sucks. You can't read it because it gets all bubbly. Yes.
It said
Read
yes.
that. Don't move it too much though. It'll move. What does it say?
Yes.
The 8 Ball has spoken. Now, we're going to ask about the Santa rally. Oh, all-knowing 8 Ball. Shall we have a Santa rally this year? Come on, dang it. This thing, man. All right, you do it, because it's not working for me. I didn't cheat, Bob Dub. It just, I can't see it, because it's bubbling
Santa
up.
rally.
Everyone is so
Will we have a Santa rally?
suspicious of what I'm doing. I swear I'm not cheating.
You something. I cannot tell.
Yeah, see? It's hard
It
to
says
read.
you.
Katina, man, can we use your 8 Ball? This one's
You
too bubbly
something.
over here. Thank you
You
very much,
something.
Katina, man. Shall we have a Santa Claus rally this year? I'm not telling, it says. You little bugger. Okay, let's one more time. Will we have a Santa Claus rally? Maybe. Okay, you suck, bro. Get out of here.
You have to give it back to Sean.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry,
There you go,
grand.
Katina, man. All right. What about Miss Schwoob? No, it's Schwoopy. All right, guys.
What is happening?
He doesn't like it. Well, he'll take some getting used to, I think, right? We're doing that dance in front of 16,000, so we're going to see if we hold up here. It's a very interesting level on the futures because it's just a smidge above yesterday's close, guys. 15,985 was the close. We did bounce off that exact level, but it's a problem when you have the closing print and that key 100-point level, in this case 1,000-point level, so close to one another. It causes a bit of a range trade. So let's see what we get. A few points out of the money at the moment, but already a couple of beak wetters. Adam, big question. Are you looking forward to the weekend? We're gonna whoop Wolverhampton. We got them at home, and they better be ready. I think we did really good having a lot of names on the score sheet on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Gets a lot of people confident. Kai Havertz, who I've complained a lot about on the show.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, he's playing a lot better there. He's two games now. He's scored in. He scored for Germany. That kind of really got his juices flowing. That translated over to the club level as well.
Nice.
I'm happy for him. So we'll see. We'll see.
So they have a weird team name, Wolverhampton. Isn't it like the Wandering Wolves or something?
The Wolverhampton Wolves.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. How do you know about this?
Ted Lasso. I told you I did
Oh,
watch
yeah.
Ted Lasso. So as much as I know that does not make me an actual Premier League fan, that's how I know some of this stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
So, yeah.
It's going to be an interesting game. Like, the Wolves, they're not that good this season. They've had better years. I really liked them when they were under Nuno Espirito Santo, who was the coach. He left and went to Tottenham. Then he got fired. Now I think he's in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
All right, Wolverhampton in the table, guys. They're 12th. So they're mid-table. 4 wins, 3 draws, 6 losses. With respect to goal differential, do they score a lot? Goals for 18 goals, 23 against. Compare that to 27 goals for Arsenal, 10 against. Arsenal, the best defense in the league. Saliba and Gabriel, in my opinion, the best duo out there right now.
There's a question from John Smith in the chat, sorry, that I think is interesting because you're actually in the futures, saying, basically to the effect of, does trading, oh, sorry, here you go. Don't know if this comment was touched on. Do you take trades based on what indices are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. On the large caps, like the mega caps, like the Mag 7, absolutely. I'm looking at what the future is doing and what the mega caps doing, and vice versa. If I'm going to go long, say Apple, I want to know what the NQ is up to. No question about it. Likewise with NVIDIA, Tesla. Tesla seems to be a bit of the outlier. It can
Tesla's a special snowflake.
Yeah, it marches to the beat of its own drum sometimes, right? But yeah, absolutely. I always keep an eye on the future, especially when engaging with mega caps. Not so when I'm trading these small caps. They don't care about what the index is doing. They're moving on an own catalyst. Typically, it's because they're small, low float, pardon me, and money's
Any news will remove it. Yeah. Nice.
Okay, there we go. I think he got fired in Saudi, says Zebev. Really? I didn't actually know that. I thought he was still going strong there. Jay Lee, crazy high Bitcoin, almost 39K.
Ooh.
Coin on a rocket to 133. Yes, you are absolutely right. Coinbase 132.95, 6 2/3% for Coinbase. Mora, no slouch, 12.5% for the mining name. Riot as well, almost 9% to the good now. Bitcoin is up 2 2/3. Ether is up 2 1/3. It's been a good look for Bitcoin this week. Who can complain about that?
Yeah,
to be
you
quite
could argue
honest
that Mara is on a marathon right now to the upside. There you go.
I said, who can complain about that? And the Neil told me Peter Schiff, because we love Peter, but he's quite pessimistic, and he's one of those ones that just wants to watch the world burn. Okay? Gold is high. So he's probably happy about that.
Today, I was thinking about that because I know he's very pro gold, which is very cool. Also, John Smith, NQ is NASDAQ? Yes.
Yes.
So thank you for the question. We love all questions over here. I have a lot of questions always, but yeah, NASDAQ.
The NQ is the futures contract for the NASDAQ 100, okay? The NDX, that's the index itself. You can't trade the index. Can you trade the index with options? That's a good question. I know you can't trade it from a futures or an equity perspective. NDX, give me a second here. Let me put in NDX, NASDAQ index. Yes, there we go. Index. I'm just looking to see if I can populate options. Yes, you can. I didn't actually know that. So you can trade the index with options. I did not know that. Okay, interesting. People saying yes. Okay, so I just discovered that right now. You can trade NDX options. Everybody's already telling me that. Yeah, I just discovered it for myself. Something new for me. I knew that obviously you could trade the futures with respect to the derivative of the index, but the NDX is comprised of the whole index, not just the 100. So a bit of a difference there. Thank you guys for that information. All right, anything else? Adam, another question. Is there anything happening on the 15th of December this year? Also, plus 3.73% for me. That's huge for someone's trading account. Shout out to you, Adam. Is there anything happening December 15th? Why do you ask about that? Are you asking about like for footy or in general? What's the 15th anyway? It's a Monday. Do we have anything for the 15th? I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that, Adam. You're gonna have to specify a little bit because nothing on my calendar here for the 15th. 1 minute left on the show, Adara. Any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are, I had some iffy trades, nothing huge in the trade world today. Lots of focus on our lessons today. Thank you so much for the lovely comment, Blackberry, and everyone here as well. But yeah, basically, I just kind of hopefully trying to learn and grow. So excited for Psychology Week because I think psychology plays a role in every aspect of trading. So I think hopefully we'll learn a lot of cool lessons. And I think I myself have a lot to learn from the psychology aspect of next week. But for now, I guess we'll have to see what Mr. Powell does to the markets and if the door will in fact be closed. We'll have to find out there.
All right, guys, let's sign it off.
Yeah, let's sign it off. Well, yeah, see you next week, same bat time, same bat channel for some new lessons. Brendan is at the big desk.
Hey guys, welcome in 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon here as we head towards the weekend. We head towards the close. The live stream just coming online here for this